Phoenix Nights. Chapter 1022. The Liujian restaurant stretched for 2 to 3 miles along the street. Row upon row of pavilions were built, and the number of customers was like a tide. It was very lively. "Young Master Snow Eagle, you haven't been here for a long time. Please come in, please come in. How about I arrange the Lord's supporting building for you?" A restaurant manager immediately took the initiative to welcome him. After all, in terms of status, this little Prince Yingshan Snow Eagle was ranked at the forefront in the entire Ardent Fire City. If he were to offend this Snow Eagle little prince, the entire restaurant would likely have to close down. Below one of the pavilions in the entire restaurant, the Auxiliary Lord Pavilion, the carriage and the dragon beast were also arranged there. Large pots of fruits and beast meat were also prepared for the dragon beast. The 2 dragons were also gobbling down the food. On the upper floor of Fu Jun Building, Dongbu Shuang and Elder Tian shared a table, while the 9 personal guards split into 2 tables at the corner. The 2 black stream cloud wolves were also served with exquisite plates of delicacies. "Although this Liujian restaurant is barely ranked in the top 10, I like it the most." Dongbu Shuang ate to his heart's content. As a powerful cultivator, eating was purely for the enjoyment of delicious food. After all, not eating or drinking for hundreds of millions of years was a small matter. The maids were like clouds, serving delicacies one after another. These maids were usually world deities or true gods. Due to their abilities, it was not easy for them to find a good job in the Ardent Fire City. Hence, they could only run errands and become servants. Only after becoming a void god could he start doing some difficult tasks. After eating and drinking for more than an hour, his entire body was covered in perspiration. Dongbu Shuang gradually stopped drinking and started to enjoy his wine. At the same time, he was also looking at the scenery outside the window. Dongbu Shuang suddenly raised his head and looked into the distance. About 10 miles away, Dongbu Shuang furrowed his brows. "Young master?" Elder Tian asked. "I'm almost done. It's time to go." Dongbu Shuang stood up. Elder Tian, the 2 black stream cloud wolves, and the bodyguards were almost done with their meals. They all stood up. More than 10 li away from the street, a luxurious carriage streaked across the sky. The carriage was pulled by 8 purple gold dragon beasts, and there were dozens of beautiful maids surrounding the carriage. Wherever he passed, even the cultivators on the streets would move to the side, not daring to look up. Because those who lived slightly longer in Ardent Fire City knew that this carriage belonged to the Misty Cloud Pavilion Master, Chen Yufeng. Being the owner of the biggest money-squandering establishment in Ardent Fire City, the Misty Cloud Pavilion, Chen Yufeng's status was naturally extremely high. He was definitely an influential figure in Ardent Fire City. Even those aristocratic clan descendants wouldn't dare to offend him, let alone the commoners. Inside the luxurious carriage, the outside of the carriage was only about 10 feet wide, but the inside was more than 100 feet wide. 2 chubby men sat opposite each other, both of them being served by beauties. A plump man was naturally Chen Yufeng. His face was filled with smiles, making people feel as though they were bathing in the spring breeze. As for the other plump man, he was relatively tall and big. He was emitting a faint, terrifying and austere aura. As he breathed, there was a faint black aura coming out from his nose, causing the beauties beside him to tremble in fear. "Brother Qian, I'll have to trouble you this time to give me more goods," Chen Yufeng complained. "I don't have enough goods. My days are tough too. There aren't many goods. This distribution is something that offends others," that plump man nonchalantly said. "I know Brother Qian isn't having an easy life too. Naturally, I won't mistreat Brother Qian," Chen Yufeng passionately said. "There's no rush." That plump man remained indifferent. Yes. Come, have a taste of this Heavenly Dawn spirit wine. This is a fine wine brewed by our king after he left the realm Heart Great Land and discovered the Heavenly Dawn God Tree and the surrounding primal chaos stars. It is rare for me to get my hands on some." Chen Yufeng waved his hand and a translucent wine flask appeared in front of him. Through the wine flask, one could see the wine liquid that was suffused with green light rippling inside. This wine flask directly flew to the table in front of that obese and huge man. "Oh, heavenly dawn spirit wine?" Only then did the plump man reveal a grin. "Good wine, good wine." That plump man seemed relatively satisfied. As he drank, he looked outside. This carriage was sealed. But those outside could not see into the carriage. Nevertheless, those inside could easily see the scenery outside. Enjoying the service of beauties and drinking the wine, this plump man revealed a grin. Suddenly, his expression changed slightly. That is, the plump man saw a pair of commoners on the distant street. That woman was merely a true god, yet there were faint red god imprints revolving in the eyes of the plump man. He could not help but feel delighted in his heart. The spiritual light emitted by this soul is so dense. It is truly a good guiding medicine. TSK, I was lucky enough to discover it. Stop, the plump man said. Quickly stop, Chen Yufeng shouted. The carriage rapidly stopped. Only then did Chen Yufeng smile. Brother Qian, what's the matter? That woman. The plump man pointed to the distant street. She is wearing a violet robe and has a jade hairpin on her head. Saying that, he could not help but condense the illusory figure of a woman by the side. I want this woman, the plump man said. Chen Yufeng looked from afar. He was extremely well informed in Ardent Fire City. There were not many aristocratic clan disciples, but there were only so many of them. He recognized all of them. With a single glance, he could ascertain that the origin of that woman was very ordinary. Even if she came from an aristocratic clan, she was merely a true god and had a low status. Brother Qian, rest assured. I will immediately capture her. Chen Yufeng chuckled. The plump man nodded. He was an outsider, and it was not suitable for him to do such a thing. However, it was very simple for Chen Yufeng to do such a thing. Yan Wen and his daughter had long seen that luxurious carriage in the distant sky. They recognized that it belonged to the Misty Cloud Pavilion Master, and naturally moved to the side of the road. However, the carriage swooped down and stopped not too far away from them. On the carriage, the curtain of the carriage opened, revealing two plump men who were being served by many beauties. Among them, the Misty Cloud Pavilion's master, Chen Yufeng, was looking downwards. His pair of small eyes were looking downwards, but they were very cold. His gaze landed on Yan Wen and his daughter. Bring that woman over. Yes. The female attendants outside the carriage had extraordinary strength. Instantly, two Unity Realm female attendants flew down. Spare my life, Misty Cloud Pavilion Master, spare my daughter. That middle-aged man Yan Wen hurriedly knelt down and begged. I am a pill master of the Yan clan's medicinal hall. Please give me some face. The girl Yan Yu also knelt down in fear. Humph. Chen Yufeng snorted coldly. He coldly glanced at Yan Wen and his daughter, and was too lazy to speak. Yan Wen was extremely terrified and his heart was in a mess. He was very clear, even though the master of their medicinal hall had some status, he did not dare to utter a word in front of the Misty Cloud Pavilion Master. Let alone a pill master like him. Father! Yan Yu was also anxious and terrified. What would be the outcome if she fell into the hands of the Misty Cloud Pavilion Master? If she was lucky, she would only be toyed with by the customers of the Misty Cloud Pavilion. If she was unlucky, she would probably lose her life. Shwa! A figure appeared. It was a grey-robed old man. This grey-robed old man appeared in front of the kneeling Yan Wen and his daughter. Waving his hand, Hong, a void ripple blasted on the bodies of those two Unity Realm female attendants who were rushing down. Those two female attendants were immediately forced back. Tian Yiji? Misty Cloud Pavilion Master Chen Yufeng looked down with a cold gaze. When he saw that grey-robed old man, he could not help but frown. He recognized that was the honored guest of Marquis Ardent Fire, Tian Yiji. At this moment, a carriage arced through the sky and flew over. There was a handsome young man seated on the carriage with two black stream cloud wolves lying in front of him. Behind him were 9 cold and stern personal guards. Pavilion Master Chen Yu, why? You are even thinking of snatching my female attendants? The handsome young man sat there. He extended his hand and caressed the smooth back fur of the huge black stream-cloud wolves. He indifferently said. His voice reverberated in midair. Many cultivators on the surrounding streets did not dare to utter a word. Prince Snow Eagle? A smile appeared on the face of Pavilion Master Chunyu. He merely frowned slightly as he looked at the plump male beside him. The gaze of that plump male was cold. He looked at Dongbush Shuang, who was seated on the carriage. Dongbush Shuang was similarly looking at that plump male. Chapter 1023. Yen Wen and his daughter knelt there. They held their breaths. They were both excited and frightened. They could not help but look at the two carriages pulled by the dragon beasts in midair. One carriage was luxurious with Pavilion Master Chen Yufeng and the mysterious plump male on it. The other carriage had that Yingshan Snow Eagle little prince who was currently caressing the fur of the black stream cloud wolf. Father! Yen Yu transmitted to her father. Rest assured, rest assured. The status of Prince Snow Eagle is extraordinary. Since he has spoken, that Pavilion Master Chun Yu will definitely give him some face. Yen Wen transmitted a message to comfort his daughter, though he was feeling uneasy in his heart. Many cultivators on the street had already retreated to the two sides. Even though they did not dare to make any noise, they were still watching the situation unfold. The two parties clashing above, they were absolutely big characters in the entire Ardent Fire City. One party controlled the biggest money-squandering den, and had many subordinates under him. His influence was huge. The other party was the Yingshan clan's little prince Snow Eagle, who was doted on by many. Old Mother Yingshan regarded him highly. Prince Snow Eagle, is it possible for you to part with this female attendant of yours? Chen Yufeng smiled. He was very passionate. I'll naturally not let Prince Snow Eagle suffer a loss. You know she is mine, yet you still want to snatch her away? Dongbush Shuang sat there and casually said. Chen Yufeng's expression froze. She was just a little girl, yet she did not give him any face at all. If this Prince Snow Eagle little prince was deliberately finding trouble with him to obtain some benefits, Chen Yufeng would still be willing to give some benefits to the other party. Who would have thought that this Snow Eagle little prince was really foolish enough to stand up for a weak little girl? Chen Yufeng glanced at the plump male by the side. I hope for you to help me capture this girl. I'll definitely remember this favor of Brother Chen Yu. The matter of the goods can be discussed too. The plump male transmitted. Chen Yufeng felt bitter in his heart. Clearly, Brother Qian was not willing to give up. Brother Qian, this Prince Snow Eagle little prince is too young and tender. This kind of greenhorn is the hardest to deal with. Chen Yufeng transmitted. With Brother Chen Yu's status in the Ardent Fire City, can't you do this? The plump hunk transmitted. AI, this is ultimately the Ardent Fire City, and the status of Marquis Ardent Fire cannot be shaken. Furthermore, this little Prince Snow Eagle has said that she is his female attendant. It was my fault for trying to snatch it forcefully. If things get out of hand, I won't be able to gain any advantage, Chen Yufeng said. Robbing civilians, killing one or two civilians, given how vast the Ardent Fire City was, with billions and billions of cultivators within, it was indeed a small matter. Even according to the law, if a noble descendant committed such a crime, he would only be fined some universe crystals. But in reality, as long as they didn't make a big deal out of it, and the number of robberies and killings weren't many, there wouldn't be any punishment. After all, the punishment for robbing a commoner wasn't much. If there were thousands or tens of thousands of robbers, and the punishment was severe, even the nobles wouldn't be able to handle it. Still not coming up? Let your father go back first. Dongbush Shuang couldn't be bothered to waste any more time with them. He ordered. Elder Tian immediately extended his hand and pulled that girl. At the same time, he transmitted to this father-daughter pair. Follow the prince first. As for you as a father, if you want to see your daughter, you can visit the Marquis Dam. Hurry up and go. Yen Wen hurriedly urged. Amen. The daughter Yen Yu acknowledged. South. Elder Tian pulled this girl and flew over to the side of Dongbush Shui Ying's carriage. She obediently stood by the side of Dongbush Shuang like a female attendant. Go! Dongbush Shuang was too lazy to even look at Pavilion Master Chen Yufeng. The two dragon beasts let out a roar. They immediately pulled the carriage and arced through the sky. Only the carriage of Misty Cloud Pavilion Master remained there. Hua! Pavilion Master Chen Yufeng closed the curtains. He looked at the sullen plump male and advised. This little prince is too young, and his way of doing things is rude and unreasonable. But we are in the wrong in this matter, and we can't win against him. It's useless even if I tried to stop him. If I dared to act, the army of the Ardent Fire Marquisdom would kill their way over. Pavilion Master Chen Yufeng let out a sigh of relief. After all, Dongbush Shuang had left so decisively that Pavilion Master Chen Yufeng did not need to say anything else. Humph! The plump male had a sullen expression. A black aura flowed on the surface of his body as he coldly said, Let's go to the Misty Cloud Pavilion first. Good, good, good. Chen Yufeng answered. Hua! Very soon, this luxurious carriage began flying towards the Misty Cloud Pavilion. The father of that girl, Yanwen, who was left behind, let out a sigh of relief when he saw this. Even though he guessed that the other party would not be angry at him for failing to snatch his daughter away. After all, from the looks of it, Pavilion Master Chen Yufeng did not wish to shed all pretense of cordiality with the little Prince Snow Eagle. Fortunately, Prince Snow Eagle appeared. Otherwise, we would be in deep trouble. He sighed inwardly. Even though there were many cultivators in the Ardent Fire City, and with the fines as punishment, aristocratic marquises would rarely kill or plunder, he still felt despair when it happened to him. But living within the city was better than living outside the city. Outside the city was a true chaotic world of slaughter. True gods and ordinary void gods like them would not be able to survive for long outside before being killed. Little Prince Snow Eagle is really formidable. He actually did not give any face to the Misty Cloud Pavilion Master. Why would little Prince Snow Eagle care about that Misty Cloud Pavilion Master? With the talent of little Prince Snow Eagle, he will definitely have a bright future. He might even become a conferred marquis in the future. Right, he will become a conferred marquis. He will naturally be different from other aristocratic marquises. The surrounding cultivators continued walking. They were discussing in groups of 2s and 3s. To them, this was practically a clash between the top existences in the Ardent Fire City. As for the higher existences, it was likely only Marquis Ardent Fire and Chen Yue. On the carriage, Dongbush Shuang sat there. The female attendant Yenyu said gratefully, Many thanks, Prince Snow Eagle, for saving my life. I've spoken, yet that Misty Cloud Pavilion Master still wants to snatch you away. It seems that it is the intention of his companion. He has a strong desire to snatch you away. Dongbush Shuang nonchalantly said, In the future you will temporarily be my female attendant. Without the protection of this identity, you will likely be snatched away very soon. Yes, Yenyu answered. She had also discovered that the plump male beside Pavilion Master Chen Yufeng was looking at her with a cold and greedy gaze. Elder Tian, investigate who was on the carriage with Pavilion Master Chen Yufeng today, Dongbush Shuang said. He shouldn't be someone from the Ardent Fire City. I'll get the Marquisdom to investigate after returning, Tian Yiji added. Dongbush Shuang nodded. He could see with a glance that the aura of that plump male was relatively evil. Furthermore, he did not seem to care about Chen Yufeng. But he was ultimately at the Unity Realm. Dongbush Shuang did not place him in his eyes. Currently, he had already cultivated the 4th and 5th style of the Southern Cloud 12 Sacred Styles. Those 2 styles were at the 6th level strength. As for the 7th level strength, if he had the 7th level strength, he could directly become a conferred marquis. Hence, even though Dongbush Shuang had cultivated for 8,000 years, he had reached an extremely high level in the Ardent Fire City. Very soon, the carriage arrived at the region of the Treasured Goods Market. There were many shops in the entire Treasured Goods Market. These shops were selling pills, materials, weapons, and all sorts of rare and precious treasures of varying grades. Like in the primal chaos void and 5 great sacred worlds where he came from, such transactions were usually monopolized by the holy grounds. But it was different in the realm Heart Great Land. All sorts of transactions were more flourishing here. The entire treasured goods market was even operated by a huge array, preventing anyone from snatching away any weapons or treasures from any shop in the treasured goods market. Prince Snow Eagle, it has been a long time since you came. Prince Snow Eagle, please come in. Following the arrival of Dongbush Shuang, the managers of various shops were extremely enthusiastic. Because in the thousands of years after he was born, other than enjoying eating all sorts of delicacies, his other favorite hobby was to stroll around the treasured goods market. He would stroll around the shops and observe the refinement of various weapons. He even saw some items that came out from ancient ruins. These allowed Dongbush Shuang to discover different kinds of profound mysteries from them. Dongbush Shuang came to a relatively huge shop. Just as he entered, he saw a spear emitting an ancient and brutal aura floating at the center of the shop. Amen? When Dongbush Shuang saw that spear and sensed that aura, his eyes could not help but brighten. Prince Snow Eagle, you have a good eyesight. The manager by the side said enthusiastically when he saw that. Star. Chapter 1024. Let me take a look. Dongbush Shuang directly said, interrupting the long speech that the manager was about to give. Please, please, the manager said. Only then did Dongbush Shuang extend his hand to grab this spear. The surface of the spear was covered with many vein patterns, and it felt comfortable holding onto the spear body. Pulling the spear body became like a dragon. It even let out a faint cry. The manager muttered inwardly when he saw that. This little Prince Snow Eagle seems to know spear techniques? Dongbush Shuang held onto the end of the spear body with his left hand. His right hand slowly caressed the spear body. A sense of familiarity filled his heart. Before reincarnating, he primarily cultivated the Tao of Mirage, and the Mirage and illusory realm was not suitable for close combat. Hence, he chose to use the spear in close combat in the past. Eventually, he gave up on it. But in the realm Heart Great Land, Dongbush Shuang decided to cultivate 2 Tao paths. One was still the Tao of Mirage and illusory realms since he was talented in this aspect. And the other was the Tao of Void. After all, he originally had deep accumulations. He had obtained the inheritance of Void Primogenitor and Monarch 9 Cloud. He also had the opportunity to observe and comprehend the scaled armor of General Mo Gu. Furthermore, he had spent 1 trillion years in the Lost World Corridor. With all these foundations, and during the teleportation of the Realm Heart Order, Shuang felt another way of using the Void. In addition, he had joined the Southern Cloud Sacred Religion in the Realm Heart Great Land. Hence, he naturally cultivated 2 Tao paths. And the Southern Cloud 12 Sacred Styles was a close combat absolute art. Most cultivators could use their bodies as weapons. But they could use other weapons too. In this life, I shall use the spear again. Dongbush Shuang thought. Wang. Following that, his consciousness permeated into the spear in his hand. Previously, it was the aura of this spear that attracted him. This time, he wanted to investigate it more thoroughly. Hong, as his consciousness permeated the spear, Dongbush Shuang could vaguely see an enormous black maelstrom staircase. As the staircase went deeper, space became more mysterious and unfathomable. The void in the realm Heart Great Land was similar to the void in the origin world where he came from. Therefore, Dongbush Shuang was able to completely understand this profound mystery. As Dongbush Shuang continued his exploration, he could sense that the spiral staircase was getting deeper and faster, and the patterns on the spear's shaft were lighting up. Suddenly, everything shattered. Dongbush Snow Eagle frowned as he looked at the spearhead. The shaft of the spear was a very simple gray, but the spearhead was a deep purple spearhead that was suffused with a bloody and ruthless aura. The spearhead isn't part of the spear? Dongbush Shuang asked. Young Master Snow Eagle has a good eye. The manager by the side added. We've invited an expert to appraise it. This secret treasure weapon should be refined by a cosmos god. This spearhead is added later on, but it is sufficiently tyrannical. Dongbu Shuang shook his head. Fierce and domineering? This spear shaft, and the original spearhead should be able to use this to unleash an extremely terrifying void killer move. Furthermore, it was absolutely a move at the cosmos god level. Furthermore, this usage of the void was something Dongbu Shuang had never seen before. If it were a complete spear, Dongbu Shuang felt that it would be worth it even if he exchanged the entire Ardent Fire Marquisdom for it. It's a pity that only the spear shaft was left, and its value was greatly reduced. Even though the spearhead was added later on, it was ordinary. Young Master Snow Eagle, the manager said, this secret treasure weapon lacks a spearhead, yet the spearhead that was added has been used for 1 trillion years. Its power is extraordinary. More importantly, it is cheap. It only costs 12 million cosmos crystals. He stared at Dongbu Shuang. 12 million cosmos crystals. The number of people in the entire Ardent Fire City who could afford it could be counted with 2 hands. This little Prince Snow Eagle, who was rumored to be highly regarded by old Mother Yingshan, should be able to afford it. 12 million cosmos crystals? Elder Tian Yiji shouted from the side. Do you know how much 12 million cosmos crystals is? It is enough to buy a complete secret treasure weapon. There were many cosmos gods in the realm Heart Great Land. Hence, secret treasures and weapons were more commonly seen than in the primal chaos void and 5 great sacred worlds. Dongbu Shuang watched from the side. Price? Based on his previous attainments in the void aspect, this spear had an extraordinary origin. Just the spear shaft was worth at least 100 million cosmos crystals. Most likely, this shop should not have invited a primal chaos giant in the Tao of Void to look at it. Otherwise, it was impossible for the other party to offer such a price. But Dongbu Shuang would not easily agree to the price the other party offered because he only had 15 million cosmos crystals on him. In terms of wealth, he would most likely be ranked in the top 3 in the Ardent Fire Marquisdom, of which 8 million cosmos crystals were bestowed by old Mother Yingshan. 2 million cosmos crystals were bestowed by Marquis Ardent Fire. Marquis Ardent Fire then gave him cavern dwellings, shops, land, and other resources. Those cavern dwellings, shops, and other resources could also be rented. Most aristocratic clan disciples could live a luxurious life precisely because they had some cavern dwellings and shops, allowing them to earn cosmos crystals continuously. Even though it was little, one had to know that a single cosmos crystal was worth 10,000 upper-grade primal chaos stones. Dongbu Shuang was naturally confident of himself. He did not think that he had to rely on his cavern dwelling and shops to survive. Hence, he had long sold those to the Marquisdom for 5 million cosmos crystals. Currently, he only had a total of 15 million cosmos crystals. He was wealthier than many elders in the Marquisdom. Elder Tian, let's not talk about it anymore. 10 million cosmos crystals. This is the limit set by our master, that manager helplessly said. Prince Snow Eagle, honestly speaking, this spear was discovered by a group of cultivators who went out to explore the historical remains 15 years ago. They were fortunate to obtain this spear, and they even fought with each other. Eventually, only 2 of them managed to send this spear to me. Furthermore, they were assassinated in my shop by their companions who went out to explore the historical remains. That time, the commotion was huge. Prince Snow Eagle just had to order someone to investigate, and you would know of this case. My master also had plans. If he couldn't sell it in a short period of time, he would return to his clan's Heavenly Yin City after a few million years. At that time, he would bring this spear to Heavenly Yin City to sell. There would be more experts there, and more people who could afford it. Dongbu Shuang nodded slightly when he heard that. He believed that this story wasn't fake. After all, it was a case from 15 years ago, and he could easily investigate it. All right, 10 million cosmos crystals. I'll buy it. Dongbu Shuang nodded. Good. The manager was overjoyed. His master was only a disciple of the Heavenly Yin clan, one of the 4 great clans. If he were to sell it here, his master would be able to benefit greatly. If he were to sell it in Heavenly Ying City, he would definitely be exploited by the clan. It's a profit, it's a profit. Master set the minimum price at 10 million. I thought that I wouldn't be able to sell it. When I bought it previously, I only spent 3 million cosmos crystals. The manager was very happy. He was already very satisfied that those who risked their lives to explore the historical remains were able to earn 3 million cosmos crystals. However, he didn't know the true value of this seemingly broken secret treasure weapon with a spearhead was definitely over 100 million universe crystals. It's just that Marquis Ardent Fire, who did not specialize in the void, could only determine that it was a damaged secret treasure refined by Cosmos God. He could not understand how precious it was. Very soon, that disciple from the Heavenly Ying clan, Heavenly Ying Flowing Jade, personally rushed over and completed this transaction. Haha, Prince Snow Eagle, I'll be returning to Heavenly Ying City in a few days. If you were to visit Heavenly Ying City, you must inform me. I'll definitely receive you well. Heavenly Ying Flowing Jade was very happy. This shop was also one of the assets under his name. Previously, he spent 3 million cosmos crystals to buy this spear, and he had practically spent all his treasures. He even used some of the goods in the shop as collateral. Now that he had earned 7 million cosmos crystals, Heavenly Ying Flowing Jade felt that there was no longer a need for him to stay in Ardent Fire City. It was fine for him to arrange for his subordinates to stay here, and he could return to Heavenly Ying City. Heavenly Ying City had a cosmos god protecting it. It was much more flourishing than this place. Dongbui Shuang was in a good mood. He brought this spear back to the Marquisdom before entering closed-door cultivation in the Void God Pagoda. Within the Void God Pagoda, sitting on a floating rock, caressing this ancient and savage spear in his hand, Dongbui Shuang was filled with joy. He recalled the time when he practiced the spear. This is a secret treasure weapon. Even cosmos gods can use it. Dongbui Shuang chuckled. In the future you will have to accompany me for a very long time. 1. The spear let out a cry. Being a secret treasure weapon, it naturally had a spirit. Dongbui Shuang chuckled. The feeling of using the spear once again made him happy. He then concentrated. It is time to break through to the Unity Realm. Chapter 1025. On the floating great rock surrounded by the spatial turbulence, Dongbui Shuang was completely focused. With the treasures given by Old Mother Yingshan and Marquis Ardent Fire to nourish his bloodline, the originally thin void bloodline had become much thicker. But it was still at the thin level. Nonetheless, Dongbui Shuang's realm was extremely high, and he was able to rapidly stimulate the void bloodline hibernating in his body. Hong, the void bloodline was stimulated on a deeper level. At that moment, it caused every particle in his body to transform. This was a direct breakthrough from the origin birth realm to the unity realm. As the level of his body rapidly rose, it was natural for him to frantically absorb the surrounding world energy. The Void God Pagoda was specifically used for cultivation, and it had formed a surging maelstrom black hole within. The surging world energy was gushing out from the maelstrom black hole and being absorbed by Shui Ying's body. After a moment, his body stepped into the unity realm. I can cultivate the Southern Cloud's sacred body now. Dongbui Shuang revealed a joyous look. The Southern Cloud Sacred Body was a supplementary body cultivation technique that came with the Southern Cloud 12 Sacred Styles. Previously, he did not dare to cultivate it because he would have to step into the Unity Realm if he wanted to. Hua hua hua! With a wave of his hand, a pile of deep green soil was placed on the great rock in front of him. Dongbui Shuang displayed the Southern Cloud Sacred Body cultivation technique. The moment it was activated, this deep green soil began emitting many green light spots that entered the body of Dongbui Shuang. This Southern Cloud Sacred Body was the apex body cultivation technique even in the 6 great ancient nations. Its only flaw was that it was too extravagant. Absorbing the essence of many precious materials into his body would allow him to refine his body like a secret treasure weapon. Furthermore, it was relatively easier to refine a secret treasure weapon. His body would implicate his soul, and he had to be more careful during cultivation. The materials required were more stringent, and the price would naturally be higher. When I become stronger in the future, I'll still have to rely on myself to earn cosmos crystals. Relying on the gifts from Marquis Ardent Fire and Old Mother Yingshan is far from enough. Dongbush Shuang understood this point. Marquis Ardent Fire was merely an ordinary primal chaos giant. How many treasures could he get? Old Mother Yingshan had many treasures, but how many could she give to her juniors? He still had to rely on himself. Naturally, it was sufficient to rely on the help from the Yingshan clan during the initial phase. This was the benefit of having a clan. For those without any background, they had to desperately obtain resources when they were weak. Without resources, the difficulty of cultivation would increase by 100 or even 1,000 times. For example, cultivating the laws and profound mystery system was extremely difficult. Half a month later, Dongbush Shuang exited the Void God Pagoda and looked up. Snowflakes were falling from the sky. It's snowing? Dongbush Shuang was shocked. What? Tian Yiji looked at her young master in shock. The aura emitted by this handsome young man was already at the Unity Realm. Unity Realm? 8,000 years, just 8,000 years? Tian Yiji did not dare believe it. To Void Gods, 8,000 years was equivalent to a nap. It's been a long time since I've accompanied my mother. Elder Tian, let's go. Dongbush Shuang said. Sigh. Tian Yiji hastily replied. The two black stream cloud wolves beside her were also somewhat stunned, but they hurriedly followed. Wang. The array that enveloped the huge marquisdom also sensed the aura of Dongbush Shuang. The array's spirit immediately reported this news to Marquis Ardent Fire. Marquis Ardent Fire sat under a pavilion by the lake. He was drinking by himself. Snowflakes were falling. Grandpa Marquis? A girl respectfully greeted. How is the matter regarding the secret treasure weapon? Marquis Ardent Fire indifferently asked. Have you been scammed? Previously, when he learned that Snow Eagle had spent 10 million cosmos crystals to purchase a secret treasure, he immediately thought that he had been scammed. Secret treasures that were qualified to be called secret treasures would usually cost at least 10 million cosmos crystals. How could a brat who was just 8,000 years old know about secret treasures? Marquis Ardent Fire became furious at that moment. He felt that someone might be so daring as to covet the cosmos crystals owned by Snow Eagle. That was why he set up a scheme to scam the other party. But knowing that it was a shop owned by a disciple from the Celestial Ying clan, Celestial Ying Flowing Jade, Marquis Ardent Fire was not in a rush to act. Instead, he ordered someone to investigate the matter thoroughly. The girl respectfully explained. That weapon is a spear. It was discovered by a few Unity Realm experts 15 years ago when they were exploring historical remains. They had even killed each other. After that, they returned to the city and sold that spear to the Celestial Ying Flowing Jade shop for 3 million cosmos crystals. At that time, they were even assassinated by their companions who were fortunate enough to survive. At that time, the Ardent Fire army from our marquisdom had even sent troops to capture and interrogate them. Marquis Ardent Fire relaxed his eyebrows when he heard that. The shops in the treasured goods market were extremely stingy. They were willing to spend 3 million cosmos crystals to purchase it. Yingshan's Snow Eagle had spent 10 million cosmos crystals to purchase it, and he did not lose much. As long as it was not a scheme, Marquis Ardent Fire would not interfere. The body of the spear is extraordinary. It's a pity that the original spearhead is missing, and it is a new spearhead, the girl said. That is why it is sold at such a price. Prince Snow Eagle should not suffer a loss. Amen. Marquis Ardent Fire nodded. Also, the guest of Pavilion Master Chen Yufeng who had a conflict with Prince Snow Eagle on the street has been investigated, the girl said. He is called Xiangan Shui. He isn't famous and is only doing some shady business. Marquis Ardent Fire softly nodded. Being the biggest money-squandering establishment, the Misty Cloud Pavilion would naturally have some transactions that were not regulated by the law. Continue watching, Marquis Ardent Fire coldly ordered. He was the person with the highest authority in the Ardent Fire city. Some experts with unique origins would usually send someone to watch over them. Yes, the girl respectfully acknowledged. Marquis Ardent Fire picked up his wine cup and drank another cup. Suddenly, his expression changed. Master, Prince Snow Eagle has broken through and reached the Unity Realm. A voice directly sounded by his ears. Who? Marquis Ardent Fire suddenly stood up, causing the girl by the side to be startled as she looked at her grandpa Marquis. Unity Realm? He has stepped into the Unity Realm? Marquis Ardent Fire was both startled and delighted. He excitedly muttered to himself. It has just been 8,000 years. He has reached the Unity Realm just 8,000 years after being born. This speed was too terrifying. Under normal circumstances, it was normal for those who were born at the origin birth realm to reach the Unity Realm after spending 10 million years. Old Ancestor is right. The eyes of Marquis Ardent Fire were emitting light. He was incomparably excited. This brat Snow Eagle has been forced to be born prematurely. But his potential is still huge, and it is possible for him to be excavated. Those bloodline nurturing treasures were truly the right thing to do. Even if it was a normal nurturing, this brat Snow Eagle should have been in the womb for several centuries or more than 1,000 years, and he should be at the Unity Realm when he is born. Now he has spent a little more time, but it is merely 10 times more time. He has reached the Unity Realm in 8,000 years. Marquis Ardent Fire was very satisfied. In the history of the Southern Cloud Nation, the number of those who were born at the Unity Realm could be counted with one's fingers. All of them had easily reached the Primal Chaos Realm. There were even 2 who became conferred kings. Being born prematurely and reaching the Unity Realm in 8,000 years, it was merely 10 times longer than reaching the Unity Realm in 1,000 years. After all, being born prematurely has some influence. Marquis Ardent Fire could not help but grin. But the influence isn't too great. Ha ha ha, it seems that my Ardent Fire Marquis Dom will have another Primal Chaos expert. Even though by then, Dongbush Shuang would definitely become a conferred Marquis and establish a Marquis Dom, the relationship between him and Marquis Ardent Fire could not be changed. After all, Dongbush Shuang was considered part of the lineage of Marquis Ardent Fire. Strictly speaking, Marquis Ardent Fire was his grandfather. I have to inform Old Ancestor immediately. Marquis Ardent Fire immediately transmitted a message to Old Mother Yingshan. And within the Ardent Fire City, Chan Yu Yenjin, who had always been hiding in the residence arranged by her son, was even more stunned when she heard the news. What? The son of that lowly servant reached the Unity Realm in just 8,000 years? He will almost certainly become a conferred Marquis in the future? What should I do? What should I do? Will he bear a grudge and kill me after becoming a conferred Marquis? Amidst the vast rolling black clouds, there was a vague ancient palace. Within the palace, a tall and sturdy figure with a black curved horn sat cross-legged there. The surface of his body was surrounded by a cold black aura. That little fellow called Yingshan Snow Eagle you mentioned, is he a disciple of the Yingshan clan's Ardent Fire Marquis Dom? The tall and sturdy figure with a black curved horn said with a deep voice. His pair of blood eyes looked downwards. Teacher, this disciple will not be mistaken. Strictly speaking, Yingshan Snow Eagle is the son of the second son of Marquis Ardent Fire, Yingshan Lai Hu. A red-robed male respectfully answered. Marquis Ardent Fire? The tall and sturdy figure with a black curved horn said with a deep voice. Who would have thought that he would be so lucky? The red-robed male obediently did not dare to say anything. He was clear how deep the hatred between his teacher and Marquis Ardent Fire was. He was also responsible for collecting all intelligence regarding Marquis Ardent Fire. Within the Ardent Fire City, within the Misty Cloud Pavilion. The Misty Cloud Pavilion was vast. It was shrouded in clouds, making it seem like a land of dreams. In one of the more secluded mansions. Who would have thought that Prince Snow Eagle has reached the Unity Realm in just 8,000 years? The plump male sat there, allowing the beauties beside him to serve him and feed him fruits. His expression was gloomy. He had never given up. He had always wanted to snatch that girl called Yen Yu into his hands. That was the guiding medicine that he had been dreaming of. Chun Yufeng, that trash. The plump male gritted his teeth. Chun Yufeng had previously agreed to think of a way. But after he followed Dongwu Shuiying and broke through to the Unity Realm, Chun Yufeng immediately rejected the idea. He expressed that he did not dare to participate. After all, how could he offend an existence who would definitely become a conferred marquis in the future? Chun Yufeng was not that foolish. Amen? The plump male was suddenly stunned. Everyone retreat. The plump male stood up. Yes. The surrounding beauties obediently retreated. The plump male rapidly entered the meditation room of this residence. The meditation room was very safe, and it isolated any external scouting. The plump male was even carrying treasures that would affect the scouting. Ying. At that moment, an illusory figure appeared by the side of the plump male. It was a tall and sturdy figure with a black curved horn shrouded in black fog. Qiangan Shui greets Master. The plump male immediately knelt down. He prostrated himself on the ground with great respect. Do you know of Yingshan Snow Eagle? That disciple from the Yingshan clan who reached the Unity Realm at the age of 8,000? The tall and sturdy figure with a black curved horn said with a cold voice. I know. The plump male immediately answered. I'll allow you to mobilize the manpower in the surrounding 12 cities. You can use all the cosmos crystals in your hands to kill that Yingshan Snow Eagle with the fastest speed. The tall and sturdy figure with a black curved horn coldly said. Kill Yingshan Snow Eagle? The plump male was slightly startled. The tall and sturdy figure with a black curved horn looked down at him. The plump male replied. Yes, yes. Master, please be rest assured. I'll definitely do my best. Don't disappoint me. Otherwise, you know the consequences. The voice of the tall and sturdy figure with a black curved horn was calm, yet it made the plump male tremble uncontrollably. That was terror that originated from the bottom of his heart. Yes, yes, I'll definitely kill him, the plump male added. Marquis Ardent Fire. The blood-colored eyes of the tall and sturdy figure with a black curved horn were filled with dense killing intent. Since I can't kill you, I'll eliminate the future primal chaos experts from your marquisdom first. You will definitely be so angry that you will go mad, haha. That figure gradually dissipated. Only then did the plump male stand up. He gulped and suppressed the anxiety in his heart. He began thinking rapidly. He knew it was impossible for him to go against his master. The consequences of going against his master made him tremble in fear. Fortunately, that Yingshan Snow Eagle has just reached the Unity Realm. Currently, he should only have the strength of a God Yuan Palace first or second level expert. He isn't worth mentioning. The only troublesome thing is that the Ardent Fire Marquisdom will definitely do its best to protect him. The plump male gritted his teeth. Master has allowed me to mobilize the manpower in the surrounding 12 cities. I can even use this batch of money? And then I have to think of a foolproof method. It is fine if I don't act, but the moment I act, I must not give him a chance. If that Snow Eagle Prince doesn't die, I'll die. Chapter 1027. For the sake of survival, the fat man Qiangan Shui began to prepare his assassination plan. He even spared no expense in spending cosmos crystals to make all sorts of preparations, buying poison, and even inviting assassins from the Black Devil Great Lake. His preparations became more and more thorough, and he even prepared several assassination plans. But what made him dumbfounded was, ever since that little Prince Snow Eagle from the Ardent Fire Marquisdom bought that secret treasure spear and returned to the Marquisdom, he had not come out at all. I don't believe it. He's just a little guy who was just born not long ago. His temperament is still unsettled. How can he calm down and cultivate? He will definitely come out again. Qiangan Shui anxiously waited. 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years, 100,000 years, Qiangan was stunned. The master behind him was equally shocked. In their opinion, no matter how noble one's bloodline was, one's temperament still needed to be tempered before it would gradually become more and more extraordinary. Only then would one be able to calm down and go into seclusion for hundreds of thousands, or even millions of years. How could there be such a young fellow in seclusion for such a long time? Master, he's not coming out, what do we do? Qian Gan Shui anxiously reported to his master. Wait. Could it be that your patience is inferior to that of a little fellow? Yes. Qian Gan Shui also let out a breath of relief. His master was wise and did not force him to enter the manor to assassinate him. After all, the Marquis's mansion was heavily guarded. Even if his master wanted to enter, he would probably fail. Marquis Ardent Fire and his mother Rong Xinglan had also advised Dongbu Shuang that cultivating the heart was important, and there was no need for him to bury himself in cultivation. Although Dongbu Shuang agreed verbally, in reality, he had the appearance of a cultivation maniac. Each time he went into closed-door cultivation, it would last for hundreds of thousands of years or even millions of years. Just a few days after he came out, he would immediately go back into closed-door cultivation. There was no other way. In the end, Dongbu Shuang was not a young fellow. He was the reincarnation of his true spirit, and his mental state had reached the my heart as the world level. Moreover, he was a great expert who had created 2 9th-level techniques in the most difficult system of laws and profound mysteries. With his temperament, it was very easy for him to go into seclusion for 10 billion years at a time. As for tempering one's character? Was there going to be another love-hate entanglement? Inconsolable grief to temper his so-called temperament? Dongbu Shuang was not in the mood for that. Fortunately, there were some cultivation maniacs among the countless cultivators, so he could only pretend to be one of them. In the blink of an eye, 5 million years had passed. Ardent Fire Marquis-Dame, within the residence of Snow Eagle Prince. Rumble, the door of the void divine pagoda opened. A handsome young man in white walked out. It was drizzling, but when the young man in white walked out, the rain naturally avoided him when it was 1 foot away from him. Young master! Young master! The guards and servants who were standing guard outside hurriedly greeted respectfully. Very soon, the entire mansion became lively. Tianyi, the 2 black stream cloud wolves, and the 9 personal guards rushed over as well. By the time they arrived, Dongbu Shuang had already arrived at a nearby lake. There was a pavilion by the side of the lake. There was a praying mat placed within the pavilion. Dongbu Shuang sat cross-legged on it. By the side, his female attendant Yin was respectfully placing the wine on the table. She was also helping to warm up the wine flask. Yin curiously looked at her young master. Young master's birth is extraordinary, but I've never seen him like any girls. He has also never gone to the misty cloud pavilion to enjoy himself. He treats others peacefully and has always been cultivating. No wonder. No wonder some cultivators are so heaven-defying. My birth can't be compared to that of young master, yet I still love to play and enjoy myself. Yet young master is so hard-working. Yen thought. Who? Dongbu Shuang extended his right hand. A spear appeared in his hand. He placed it flat on his knees. Being a secret treasure weapon, just the tyrannical aura contained within the spearhead made the female attendant Yen feel stifled. Wang! A formless wave emanated from the spear. It was as though a stone had been thrown into a calm lake, creating countless ripples. The formless wave emanating from the spear was extremely subtle. It easily permeated the surrounding void. The void was completely controlled. In the distance, Tianyi, the black stream cloud wolf, and his personal guards were all rushing over. Tianyi was a 5th-stage expert in the Divine Yuan Palace, and could even teleport. Even with his acute perception of the void, he didn't realize that the surrounding void was being controlled. Dongbu Shuang sat cross-legged. He was like a spider controlling a spiderweb. The surrounding void was being controlled. In fact, the void around him was beginning to distort. The distortions were very minute. It was hard to detect them even when they were right in front of one's eyes. Only when one's body touched them would one feel something special. Hua hua hua! Countless raindrops scattered down. Numerous tiny spatial distortions shifted the raindrops from one location to several kilometers away. The raindrops that were several kilometers away were shifted to another location. Countless raindrops were shifted due to the spatial distortions. However, even though the raindrops were shifted, they were connected seamlessly. It was as though none of the raindrops had shifted. The rain continued to fall. Prince Tianiji, the 2 black-streamed cloud wolves, and the 9 personal guards came to the side of the pavilion. As Dongbu Shuang was controlling the void to avoid them, Tianiji and the others did not notice him even though they were several meters away. If other primal chaos existences were to discover this, they would be dumbfounded. Dongbu Shuang held on to a cup of wine and continued to control the spatial distortions. He was still manipulating the countless minute distortions in the void. The more he manipulated, the more satisfied he was. Buying this spear is really worth it. These 5 million years, Dongbu Shuang was also concentrating on cultivating. Because the Tao of Void of the 2 origin worlds was relatively similar, he had reached the primal chaos realm not long ago in terms of the laws and profound mysteries system. As for the bloodline breakthrough, he could have reached the primal chaos realm a long time ago. It's just that this breakthrough was too fast. No matter how talented he was, he had to be within the normal category of a genius. Even though he remained at the Unity realm on the surface, he had never stopped researching and comprehending the void. As his realm increased, he began researching this spear. Probing the spear body, it was like seeing a distorted black maelstrom staircase. Every level of the staircase was intersecting with different voids. Dongbu Shuang cultivated the opposite Tao. If he were the core of this maelstrom, he could influence the surrounding chaotic void. And this spear body originally contained such a technique. Even though it lacked the spearhead, causing the profound mysteries contained within this secret treasure to be lacking, it was sufficient for Dongbu Shuang. With his deep foundation, he could comprehend a domain control technique from within. The moment he did so, he was qualified to be considered a God Yuan Palace 7th level technique. More importantly, if he relied on the spear body to execute it, even though he had yet to comprehend many things, it would be taxing for him to execute it. But by relying on the spear body to execute it, its power would explode, and it could be considered a God Yuan Palace 8th level technique. An 8th level domain technique. More importantly, the technique contained within this spear body is at the Cosmos God level. Currently, I have merely seen through a tiny bit of it. Dongbu Shuang felt satisfied because the void technique contained within this spear body was of a different direction from the Southern Cloud 12 sacred styles. It's a pity that I lack the spearhead. It is taxing for me to comprehend it. Dongbu Shuang sighed inwardly. Within the void God pagoda, he could display the violent side of this domain. But at this moment, under the pavilion by the lakeside, he was displaying the most minute aspect of this domain stealthily. The foundation of the realm Heart Great Land is much stronger than the primal chaos void. Over there, only Emperor Juyun, Void Primogenitor and the mysterious Myriad Realm Tavern Master are considered formidable in the Tao of Void. And in the realm Heart Great Land, I have come into contact with the techniques left behind by 2 terrifying experts in this small place called Southern Cloud Nation. Dongbu Shuang sighed inwardly. One was created by Southern Cloud King, and the other was the original Tao of Void expert who refined this spear. Keep. With a thought, Dongbu Shuang moved. The domain was completely kept. The rain continued falling down just like before. Tian Yi, the female attendant Yen Yu, and the protectors did not notice it at all. Dongbu Shuang was not worried about being discovered. Even Marquis Ardent Fire would have to rely on his own law domain before he could detect it. Otherwise, given how sensitive Marquis Ardent Fire was towards the void, it was impossible for him to detect it from a long distance. After all, strictly speaking, Dongbu Shuang was currently a great expert, not any weaker than Marquis Ardent Fire. Only when they fought would they know who was stronger. Chapter 1028. It's been 5 million years. I can announce to the public that I've reached the 5th level of the Yuanshan Palace. Relying on this, I can head to the Southern Cloud capital and obtain the complete Southern Cloud 12 sacred styles. Donghua Shuang thought. As for the complete version where he could unleash 80% of his strength at the Unity Realm and 10% of his strength at the Primal Chaos Realm, Shuang still desired it. To others, it would be a waste even if they obtained it. After all, most 9th-level experts could not reach it. But Donghua Shuang was different. He had to get the absolute art that allowed him to unleash the power of the 10th level at the Primal Chaos Realm. He had to admit that it was impossible for him to create this absolute art at the Primal Chaos Realm. Actually, the majority of cosmos gods could not create absolute arts that could allow the Primal Chaos Realm to unleash 10th level strength. There were very few who could create it in the realm Heart Great Land. "My son!" A passionate voice called out. Donghua Shuang turned around. He saw Yingshan Laihu and Rong Xinglan coming over together. Yingshan Laihu was currently shouting out passionately. Even though he did not have a good impression of this father from the start, he still admired this Yingshan Laihu. Over the past 5 million years, Yingshan Laihu had always been coaxing Rong Xinglan, making her happy. Even if it was an intentional disguise, it could be coaxed for 5 million years, and he would still be able to treat it as the truth. At the very least, Rong Xinglan's feelings for her husband had deepened. "Father, mother." Donghua Shuang stood up. "My son's cultivation is too tough. Even I, as a father, feel sorry for him." Yingshan Laihu sighed. These words of his were spoken from his heart. Currently, who would not regard him, Yingshan Laihu, highly? Why? Wasn't it just because he had an incomparably talented son who was destined to become a conferred marquis at the Primal Chaos Realm? Yingshan Laihu was proud of his son. Thinking about how he enjoyed himself, and seeing how his son frequently entered closed-door cultivation, Yingshan Laihu felt heartache. His son was working too hard. "Snow Eagle, what your father said is right. You should go out more and not always stay in seclusion," Rong Xinglan added. She was truly worried about her son. 5 million years. Her son had never liked a woman before. This was very abnormal. "Do you like men?" "Not at all." Okay. I'll go out for a walk." "I'll definitely go out for a walk," Donghua Shuang said. He indeed wanted to go out for a walk. Furthermore, he wanted to go to the biggest city in the distant Southern Cloud Nation, the capital. He wanted to learn the complete Southern Cloud 12 sacred styles. "Don't lie to me. Previously, you only agreed to it verbally, but you immediately went into closed-door cultivation," Rong Xinglan said. "Laihu, bring Snow Eagle out for a walk." "All right." Yingshan Laihu nodded. Ever since his son broke through to the Unity Realm, his name had spread across the entire Southern Cloud Nation. Many aristocratic clans within the Southern Cloud Nation knew that the Yingshan clan had an additional talented young fellow. However, after attaining the Unity Realm, Donghua Shuang never left the Marquis residence. If he brought his son out of the mansion, it would definitely be very glorious. Yingshan Laihu still enjoyed the scenery. Very soon, Yingshan Laihu pulled Donghua Shuang out of the Marquis residence. They were still riding on that extravagant carriage of Yingshan Laihu. Donghua Shuang's carriage was much simpler, while Yingshan Laihu's was more tyrannical. It was much more dazzling, causing many cultivators on the streets to not dare to look at it directly. There were even a total of 8 dragon beasts. "Father, you even changed this carriage?" Donghua Shuang sat on the carriage with Yingshan Laihu sitting by the side. The carriage was huge, and it was very spacious for 2 people to sit on. Tianyi Ji, the 9 personal guards, 2 black stream cloud wolves, the female attendant Yenyu, and the servants and protectors of Yingshan Laihu were all on the carriage. "Haha, my son is the famous Yingshan Snow Eagle. How can I sit on an ordinary carriage?" Yingshan Laihu winked at Donghua Shuang with delight. "After buying this carriage, I still owe quite a lot of cosmos crystals. But I'm in no rush to repay them. Naturally, if my son is willing to help me repay them, that would be even better." Donghua Shuang caressed the black stream cloud wolf lying by his side. He no longer looked at his father. Shanlai, who did not care when he saw that. He laughed out loud. Go, let's go to the Misty Cloud Pavilion. Ho! The 8 dragon beasts roared. The luxurious carriage arced through the sky and headed towards the Misty Cloud Pavilion. Going to the Misty Cloud Pavilion? Dongbua Shuiying was startled. Tian Yiji, the female attendant Yen Yu, and the other protectors and servants could not help but turn to Shanlai, who, bringing his son to visit the Misty Cloud Pavilion? I have to experience it. Shanlai, who said, My son hasn't been there before, right? That is the biggest entertainment ground in the ardent fire city. My son has cultivated for 5 million years, and he should have seen everything. Dongbua Shuiying chuckled. He did not say anything else. Who, Prince Snow Eagle? Black Stream Cloud Wolf? Prince Snow Eagle is on it? That lucky Shanlai who is bringing along Prince Snow Eagle? Everywhere they passed, there would be all sorts of discussions. Some who were more knowledgeable could still recognize Snow Eagle. Hearing the discussions, Shanlai who sat on the carriage laughed even more happily. Glorious, truly glorious. Very soon, they arrived at the Misty Cloud Pavilion. Sir Lai Hu. The attendants of the Misty Cloud Pavilion came to welcome them with great familiarity. They could see a white-robed handsome young man seated beside Shanlai Hu on the carriage. That handsome young man was gentle like jade, though they could not help but feel their hearts trembling when they saw him. Prince Snow Eagle? They were stunned. Prince Snow Eagle is here. Quick, Prince Snow Eagle is here. News spread rapidly within the Misty Cloud Pavilion. The entire place was in an uproar. This was a huge matter. Even though the Misty Cloud Pavilion was extraordinary, what kind of status did Prince Snow Eagle have? He was destined to become a conferred marquis at the Primal Chaos Realm. He would be ranked in the top 3 across the entire Ardent Fire City. The Southern Cloud's Sacred Palace Hall Master Chen Yuwei did not dare to slight him. After all, Chen Yuwei was merely relying on his clan. He was still at the Unity Realm. Who would dare to slight someone who was destined to become a conferred marquis? I've waited for 1,000 to 10,000 years, and my eyes are getting tired from waiting. Finally, I can see Prince Snow Eagle. The plump pavilion master Chen Yufeng flew over like a gust of wind. He was incredibly passionate. Chen Yufeng, since my son is here today, all the expenses here will be paid by you. Shanlai who said loudly. Rest assured. Everything will be paid by me. Chen Yufeng laughed until the fat on his old face was trembling. Dongbua Shuiying also chuckled and replied with a few simple sentences. Everyone was personally escorted by Pavilion Master Chen Yufeng into a huge palace hall. Under Chen Yufeng's arrangement, peerless beauties with innate charm that had never been touched by a man had already entered the stage and started to sing and dance. Follow me, and I'll definitely not treat you badly. Here, take it first. Within that enormous palace hall, there were already many aristocratic clan disciples present. An aristocratic clan disciple was currently throwing a bag of cosmos crystals to the armored girl in front of him. That cold girl received this bag of cosmos crystals. She felt relatively excited in her heart. She had finally succeeded in relying on an aristocratic clan disciple as a guest. In the future, her days would be better, and her children would have resources to cultivate. Congratulations, Prince, for accepting another formidable female guest. The beauties by the side flattered. Ha! This aristocratic clan disciple laughed out loud. Suddenly, he looked to the distance with slight astonishment. At the entrance of the palace hall, Pavilion Master Chen Yufeng was incomparably passionate as he led the way. Shanlai who was carefree. Behind Shanlai who was a handsome white-robed young man with 2 black stream cloud wolves by his side. There was also a gray-robed old man coldly following by the side. Prince Snow Eagle? This aristocratic clan disciple jumped in fright. His sitting posture became more reserved. Everyone be more careful. Don't offend that white-robed young man. This aristocratic clan disciple softly ordered the surrounding servants and protectors. If his subordinates were to offend the other party, he would be out of luck. Master, who is he? A favored female attendant softly asked. The female guest was curious too because she discovered that the arrogant aristocratic clan disciples in the palace hall were much more reserved now. That is Prince Snow Eagle. Have you heard of him before? He is different from us. We aristocratic clan disciples are just idling around, but he is someone who is going to become a conferred marquis. Prince Snow Eagle? The female attendant and the female guest immediately understood. That handsome white-robed young man was the legendary Snow Eagle Prince of Ardent Fire City. Under the escort of Chen Yufeng and the others, including some aristocratic clan disciples with slightly higher statuses, Dongwu Shuang and his father finally sat at the host seat of the entire palace hall to enjoy the dance. The Misty Cloud Pavilion occupied a huge area within a residence. The plump male Qian Shui had always been staying here. His current most important mission was to assassinate that Snow Eagle Prince. If Snow Eagle Prince did not come out, he could only wait. After waiting for 5 million years, he was at a loss. How long would this Snow Eagle Prince take before he came out? Did he only know how to cultivate? Lord Prince Snow Eagle is currently in the Misty Cloud Pavilion. His subordinate immediately transmitted the news. What? Qian Shui was greatly shocked. He came out, and he was even in the Misty Cloud Pavilion? I have to act immediately. Qian Shui's heart was racing. He was thinking rapidly. He understood that he had to grab hold of this opportunity. Otherwise, who knew when this Snow Eagle Prince would come out again after returning to the Marquisdom? I must not panic. This assassination must succeed. Qian Shui's gaze turned cold. If he failed, he would die miserably. Hence, no matter how anxious he was, he had to think calmly. The plan had to be foolproof. Fortunately, he had made ample preparations. After pondering for a moment, he immediately gave the order to mobilize his subordinates. The operation was about to begin. Chapter 1029. Within a private room on the second floor of a restaurant that was slightly closer to the Misty Cloud Pavilion, good wine and dishes were placed on the table. Only Qian Shui was seated here. His plump body sat on a chair. It was rare that he did not bring along any beautiful female attendants. As he drank, he was looking outside the window. His gaze was focused in the direction of the Misty Cloud Pavilion. He was clear how important this assassination plan was. At least to him, it would decide his life and death. He would not allow himself to fail. I only have this one chance. If I fail this time, the entire Yingshan clan will be infuriated. It is impossible for me to find a second chance. Master will not give me another chance either. Qian Shui thought. Jia! The door to the private room was pushed open. A thin teenager walked in. This thin teenager had a faint aura of Unity Realm. He held a short blade in his hand. He was casually playing with it. When Qian Shui saw who came, his eyes brightened. He immediately stood up and greeted with a fawning tone. Brother Yen. Amen. The thin teenager casually sat down. The operation will begin in a while? Ever since I accepted this mission of yours, I have stayed in this ardent fire city for 5 million years. Brother Yen, you have worked hard. Currently, that brat is within the Misty Cloud Pavilion. Qian Shui said. Chen Yufeng, Yingshan Laihu, and the others are accompanying that brat. The moment he comes out, it will be time for us to act. The entire place was isolated from the outside world. The conversation here could not be heard from the outside world. The thin teenager nodded. Rest assured. By then, I'll just kill that Yingshan Snow Eagle. Brother Yen, this matter concerns the life of this little brother. I'll have to rely on Brother Yen. Qian Shui could not help but say. Humph, I don't care about your life. Just remember to pay me 12 million cosmos crystals after the mission is completed. The thin teenager said. Qian Shui nodded. Definitely. The core of his plan this time was to invite this terrifying assassin from the Black Devil Great Lake, Nianjiu. He had to pay 8 million cosmos crystals to invite him. If the assassination failed, everything else could be forgotten. After the mission was completed, he would have to pay another 12 million cosmos crystals. In other words, this Nianjiu alone would have to pay 20 million cosmos crystals if he succeeded. And in reality, Qian Ganshui only had slightly more than 15 million cosmos crystals in total. For this assassination plan, he had already spent all the money. The 8 million cosmos crystals that he had paid in advance, as well as other means of preparation, had all been spent. He had even used up some of his own savings. If he succeeded, he would need to use up his own savings to make up for it. He even had to borrow some universe crystals from his master's companions. As long as the assassination plan succeeds, everything will be worth it. If master is happy, he might even give me a great reward. Qian Ganshui thought to himself. Time continued to flow. 2 hours, 4 hours. The sky gradually darkened. Qian Ganshui drank with Nianjiu, and neither of them spoke much. Ha! Nianjiu looked outside. We're out. Qian Ganshui's body trembled as he stared outside the window at the group of people coming out of the misty cloud pavilion. Among them was a handsome youth in white who was being surrounded. What a handsome little fellow! His own strength is not worth mentioning. I can easily crush him to death. Even Marquis Ardent Fire would most likely have prepared many methods to protect him. Unfortunately, he's dead now that I've made a move. Nianjiu stood up and took a step out of the window. He landed on the street outside and walked leisurely as if he was an ordinary cultivator amongst the many cultivators on the street. Qian Ganshui held his breath nervously. The moment that would decide his fate had arrived. Everyone, prepare yourselves. The moment he arrives, we'll act. Qian Ganshui transmitted. 8 dragon beasts pulled that luxurious carriage across the sky. Ying Shanlai, who was incomparably proud as he sat on the carriage with his son, Tian Yiji, the female attendant Yin Yu, and the others were standing by the side. The protectors and female attendants were also waiting by the side. The speed of the carriage was fast. My son, this misty cloud pavilion is different, right? Haha, this is also the first time I brought you here. There are still many interesting things that I haven't brought you to try. Ying Shanlai chuckled. In the future, my son can come here by himself. He was a cultivator, after all. He should have seen everything. You should experience the beauties and skeletons too. This is also considered cultivating the heart. Sir Lai Hu? Tian Yiji muttered from the side. Ying Shanlai was slightly startled. He awkwardly answered Tian Yiji. Elder Tian, I was just saying. The mortal dust refinement of the heart is not wrong, right? At this moment, Ying Shanlai felt so much regret that he wanted to slap his own mouth. Because the words he said would most likely be reported up to Grandpa Marquis by Tian Yiji. Dongbush Shuang merely listened. He remained indifferent. Suddenly, he glanced at a distant restaurant with slight astonishment. Ever since he comprehended the domain technique from the profound mysteries within the spear body, his control of the void had reached an amazing level. Even during ordinary times, he could naturally sense anything within a certain region. And he discovered a familiar person. Xiangan Shui? Dongbush Shuang saw a plump male seated by the window of that restaurant. That plump male was currently looking at him. When Dongbush Shuang looked over, Qiangan Shui even revealed a smile. Humph. Dongbush Shuang no longer cared about him. Because of the matter regarding the female attendant Yin Yu, he had ordered people to investigate. He knew that this Qiangan Shui was someone who did some shady business. There was no need to care about such a character. Suddenly, Wang! The surrounding void suddenly trembled. The vast region was being suppressed. Not good. Tian Yiji was greatly alarmed. He immediately transmitted. Be careful, the surrounding void is being suppressed. We can't teleport. What? Ying Shanlai panicked at that moment. Xiao! Xiao! 2 continuous streams of light shot out from the crowd of cultivators on the street below. Tian Yiji and the 9 personal guards had formed silver armor on their bodies with great proficiency. The armor shone, forming a silver sphere that enveloped the carriage where Dongbush Shuang was at. Tian Yi and the others rapidly defended against the two streams of light and the diffusing poisonous fog. Honk! Break! The void trembled. Assassination? They actually dared to assassinate my son? Yingshan Laihu paled. He was slightly panicking. Even though he had protectors, they were far weaker than the protectors of Dongbua Shuiying. Father, there's an assassin trying to assassinate Snow Eagle. Yingshan Laihu rarely transmitted a message to Marquis Ardent Fire. Usually, he would not dare to disturb Marquis Ardent Fire. Nonetheless, Marquis Ardent Fire had already received the transmission from Tian Yi. Even though Marquis Ardent Fire was furious, the Marquisdom was very far from this place. Even if he could teleport, there was a limit to how far he could teleport, and it would take the time taken to brew a cup of tea to rush over. Even if he rushed over, teleportation would be suppressed in the surroundings. He had to fly over, and it would be hard for him to save his son. How dare you! A furious roar reverberated in the world. World energy surged. Boundless world energy was madly condensing. It gradually condensed into a figure. It was none other than the incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire. But because it was condensed from the world energy, it required some time. Marquis Ardent Fire, there is no need for you to take out an incarnation. Following that, a laughter reverberated in the world. A thin young man flew into the sky and clashed against the enormous silvery white light sphere formed by Tian Yi and the 9 personal protectors. At the moment of impact, the thin young man split into 6. A total of 6 thin young men erupted with a frightening aura. Every single one of them was not any weaker than the incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire. Almost instantaneously, the combat formation formed by Tian Yi and the others was shattered. Prince, be careful. Tian Yi was anxious. All right. Not far away, the plump male Qian Ganshui who was watching the battle from the restaurant could not help but clench his fists. His fingertips pierced into his flesh. His emotions surged. He is indeed old devil Nian! Chapter 1030. It's Nianjiu? The incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire who was currently condensing felt his heart trembling when he saw that. He could not help but grit his teeth. Who is so daring to become enemies with my Yingshan clan? Daring to assassinate the talented Snow Eagle Prince was akin to slapping the face of the Yingshan clan. The Yingshan clan would definitely not let this matter rest. Under normal circumstances, not many superpowers would be so foolish. But now, an assassination had happened, and there was even this devil Nianjiu. Nianjiu was originally a 9-headed devil snake born and bred within the Black Devil Great Lake. Because of the ancient cultivation technique, he had the avatar talent, allowing him to form a total of 9 avatars. As long as one avatar survived, the other 8 avatars would be able to cultivate back after dying. Hence, relying on this avatar talent, Nianjiu would frequently become an assassin. After all, there were not many experts who would risk their lives to assassinate others. They were either death warriors or experts like Nianjiu who had unique techniques. Protect the prince. The 2 black stream cloud wolves immediately transformed into a human form. Furthermore, 98 black armored soldiers appeared around them. These 2 black stream cloud wolves transformed into a human form. One of them was still wearing black armor, and the other had a dark golden armor. There were 100 of them, and they immediately formed a huge combat formation. Hong long long. The surrounding black clouds revolved around the carriage at the center. And the 100 soldiers were scattered within the black clouds. All of their armor shone brightly, and their strength was completely linked as one. You actually dared to assassinate Snow Eagle Prince? Such guts! The leading dark golden-armored captain revealed a sharp claw weapon with both hands. He roared out furiously, and his voice reverberated in the world. Ardent Fire Army Hidden Guards? Ha! Who would have thought that one of the Ardent Fire Army's 3 secret guard teams would actually be protecting this little brat? The 6 skinny youths laughed heartily as they charged forward. Let me see how powerful you all are! Kill! The dark golden-armored captain roared out. The rolling black clouds vaguely turned into an enormous 4-hooved mutated beast. The dark golden armored captain was like the claws of the four-hooved mutated beast. Every single attack he made was incredibly violent. What? There is actually a team of dark guards from the Ardent Fire Army protecting that Yingshan Snow Eagle? Qiangan Shui, who was watching the battle from a restaurant far away, paled in anger. Isn't he being too biased? How could he let those Shadow Guard captains wait in the heavenly abode? This was the worst possible situation. A team of hidden guards. The leader of the secret guards was at God Yuan Palace level 5 while the other members were at the Unity Realm. Fusing with the entire combat formation, it could unleash a strength at the God Yuan Palace 7th level. It could even fight against some of the weaker primal chaos giants. Yingshan Lai, who felt his legs turning soft. He even consoled Dongbu Shuang by the side. My son, rest assured. They can't harm you. Maid Yen Yu also clenched her fists, ready to risk her life for her young master at any moment. In reality, they were only true gods. In a battle of this level, they were completely useless. In fact, regardless of whether it was the assassin Old Devil Nianjiu, the hidden guard team led by the Black Stream Cloud Wolf Captain, Tian Yiji, Marquis Ardent Fire, or even that Devil Master who was constantly monitoring the situation of the assassination, all of them were extremely concerned. They felt their hearts tightening over the current situation. There was only one person. He might seem nervous on the surface, but in reality, he was extremely calm. That was none other than Dongbu Shuang. Assassination? Dongbu Shuang sat on the carriage watching. Oh, this assassin could instantly form 6 avatars. But he is merely at the Unity Realm, yet he could form avatars. It shouldn't be an avatar technique of the Void lineage. Instead, it should be an ancient cultivation. But he is quite formidable. This assassin seems to have a God Yuan Palace 6th level strength by himself. 6 avatars even have a combined technique, allowing them to unleash a strength at the God Yuan Palace 7th level. Woo! So one of my 2 Black Stream Cloud Wolves is the leader of the Hidden Guards, and the other is an ordinary Hidden Guard? And the other 98 Hidden Guards have always been waiting for orders within the Eden Treasure? Marquis Ardent Fire really regards me highly. Dongbu Shuang sighed inwardly. I have always thought that Elder Tian and the others are protectors. Who would have thought that one is in the light and the other in the dark? Elder Tian is leading 9 personal guards, and they only have a God Yuan Palace 6th level strength. An entire team of hidden guards is even stronger. One in the light and one in the dark. Dongbu Shuang continued watching the battle between the team of hidden guards and Devil Nianjiu. Both parties were frantically assassinating each other, and Old Devil Nianjiu could not break through for a short while. The cultivation techniques in the Realm Heart Great Land are indeed more profound. This combat formation is much more profound than that in the Primal Chaos Void. In the Primal Chaos Void, a 5th level Star Pagoda Unity expert working together with 99 other Unity experts. It was impossible for them to unleash the strength of the 7th floor of Star Tower. But the Realm Heart Great Land could do it. These combat formation techniques in the Realm Heart Great Land were simply more profound than the innate combined technique of the Destruction Devils. Qiangan Shui, who would have thought that there is an entire team of hidden guards protecting you at all times? I can't break through it. This mission will most likely fail. Nianjiu transmitted to Qiangan Shui. No. Qiangan Shui's eyes turned red. He mobilized his subordinates to arrange for death warriors, but in reality, he did not care about the price to find Old Devil Nianjiu and invite him to act. This was his most important trump card. Who would have thought that Old Devil Nianjiu could not break through even after unleashing his God Yuan Palace 7th level strength? This Old Devil Nianjiu is too cowardly. I've heard that he has 9 avatars, yet he would only use 6 avatars every time he assassinates someone. I wonder where the other 3 avatars are hiding at. Qiangan Shui's eyes were filled with madness. I can't care anymore. If I fail, I'll die. I'll risk it. Even though Qiangan Shui had placed most of his hopes on the powerful Old Devil Nianjiu, he would still die if he failed. He had prepared another killing move, which he spent more than 2 million years before he finally found a primal chaos giant to help him refine the venom. For the sake of a single portion of venom, he spent 6 million cosmos crystals. One had to know that some of the most ordinary secret treasures were only worth 10 million cosmos crystals. Those who came into contact with these cosmos crystals would almost certainly die. As long as they were at the Unity realm, few could defend against it. Old Devil Nianjiao, it might affect you. But since you have an avatar, it's fine. Qiangan Shui took out a black flute and lightly blew it. 1. An unseen sound ripple immediately spread in the direction of Dongbu Shuang. This sound ripple was a strange pale green in color. The color of this venom could be seen with the naked eye. No choice, it had to be sufficiently powerful and undetectable. The amount of cosmos crystals he prepared was not enough. What? The incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire had just condensed. He was currently working together with the hidden guards to deal against Old Devil Nianjiao. When he saw the pale green sound ripple coming over, his expression could not help but change. The incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire did not have any treasures or weapons. It merely had a God Yuan Palace 6th level strength and could barely be compared to an avatar of Old Devil Nianjiao. It could not affect the overall situation at all. Venom? Old Devil Nianjiao revealed a joyous look when he saw this. Not good. The hidden guards felt their hearts jolting. They could feel a great terror coming from this pale green sound ripple venom. If they were to come into contact with this venom, they would most likely die. Hong Pu! The surroundings boomed. The incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire and the hidden guards were diverting their attention to attack that venom. Nonetheless, they could not isolate the venom at all. The venom continued spreading over. After all, it was a venom worth 6 million cosmos crystals. What should we do? The speed of the sound ripple venom was too fast, and it could not be teleported. Unless they were to escape and ignore the prince? Ha! Old Devil Nianjiao wantonly attacked the hidden guards, yet he was laughing out loud. In his opinion, without the obstruction of this hidden guard, that Snow Eagle Prince was incomparably weak. It was too easy to kill him. What should we do? What should we do? The incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire was incredibly anxious. He had already transmitted a message to Old Mother Yingshan, yet Old Mother Yingshan could not rush over in a short period. She had to seek the help of a primal cakes giant who specialized in ultra-long distance teleportation. All sorts of matters would require time. And in the blink of an eye, a battle at this level had occurred hundreds to thousands of times. Do not spare any effort to obstruct the enemy. Try to delay for as long as possible. As time goes on, there will be hope. The incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire transmitted to the hidden guards. Yes. Of all the hidden guards, some were willing, and some were unwilling, yet they still acknowledged the order. They did not dare to disobey the orders of Grandpa Marquis. They had to use their lives to fight. To resist against this strange venom and delay for as long as they could. On the carriage, Yingshan Lai Hu and the female attendant Yen Yu were in a daze. They did not understand what was happening on the battlefield. They only knew that the incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire was fighting with all the hidden guards. The hidden guards had all gone mad, and they felt a kind of sorrow. Dongbu Shuang was the only one who was calm. He looked to the distance at Qiangan Shui, who was blowing the black flute. This venom is slightly interesting. It seems powerful, and ordinary attacks can't scatter it. Dongbu Shuang thought. A spear appeared in his hand. It was that secret treasure weapon. Following that, an unseen ripple spread out. This ripple was very subtle, and it permeated everywhere. Go! The space where the pale green sound ripple venom was at was distorted. It was clearly flying in the direction of Dongbu Shuang, yet in the blink of an eye, it arrived by the side of Qiangan Shui. What? Qiangan Shui looked at the pale green venom in front of him with terror. This venom did not differentiate between friend and foe. He controlled the flute to control its direction. Who? Under the influence of the venom, Qiangan Shui's body was corroded, turning into a puddle of green water. He died on the spot. Even though the venom permeated the surroundings, it was fortunate that there was no one around. Those cultivators, including the guests and attendants, had already escaped far away. After all, a battle of this level was something that cultivators would do their best to distance themselves from. Even if they were 50,000 kilometers away, they would not feel safe. At a distant location on the wide street, a black-robed man was watching from afar. He was none other than the incarnation of that devil master. He relied on a treasure to conceal his aura and lived in seclusion in the Ardent Fire City. Given his hatred towards Marquis Ardent Fire, his incarnation was here to find an opportunity to deal against Marquis Ardent Fire. This Qiangan Shui is still quite useful. He actually prepared such a venom. The edge of the black-robed man's lips curled upwards. Following that, his expression changed. That pale green sound ripple venom actually twisted strangely towards the side of Qiangan Shui, causing him to die. The black-robed man even felt that the space seemed normal. There is actually an expert protecting that Snow Eagle Prince? Isn't the Yingshan clan putting in too much effort for the sake of protecting him? The black-robed man could not help but grit his teeth. Chapter 1031. The black-robed devil master gritted his teeth. His eyes were cold. Seeing how anxious the incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire was, Marquis Ardent Fire would definitely go mad if he succeeded in killing that little brat Yingshan Snow Eagle. The expert protecting Yingshan Snow Eagle in the dark was able to crack the venom without anyone noticing. Is he really powerful, or does he just happen to be able to restrain the venom? Many thoughts flashed across the mind of the black-robed demon master. I'd better stick to the original plan. Odd to act? Yes. The black-robed devil master silently gave the order. He coldly looked to the distance. Even though he asked Qiangan Shui to assassinate Yingshan, he had never placed all his hopes on Qiangan Shui. Instead, he prepared his final trump card. Let me see who exactly is protecting him in the dark. The black-robed devil master sneered inwardly. In the entire Ardent Fire City, even Marquis Ardent Fire's true body could not make it in time. Who could obstruct my magic servant? And on the carriage in midair, Yingshan Lai, who panicked to the point his body was trembling. Tian Yiji, who retreated to the side, anxiously transmitted to Dongbua Shuang. Prince, this poison is frightening. If the hidden guards can't resist against it, I'll immediately keep you in my Eden treasure and flee for your life. Hopefully, you can hold on until the experts invited by old Mother Yingshan arrive. In a while, don't resist. Even though she was transmitting, Tian Yiji was looking to the distance with shock. Not just him. Many hidden guards and protectors present had a kind of resolution, the resolution to fight to the death for their prince. They had people they cared about, and they were not really willing to face death. But since they chose to rely on Marquis Ardent Fire, they rarely met any danger and enjoyed the help of resources. Hence, when danger came, they had to stand out. Those who dared to escape would definitely not be let off by the Yingshan clan. The surrounding atmosphere was slightly sorrowful and mad. All of them were gritting their teeth as they watched the faint green sound ripple poison flying over from the black flute. Come! Let's risk it. Good daughter, I can no longer accompany you. These hidden guards were fighting with old devil Nianjiu while paying attention to the poison. But the poison suddenly appeared by the side of Qiangan Shui, causing him to die. This? How could this be? Everyone present was overjoyed at having escaped from the brink of death, but at the same time, they were in disbelief. The incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire was also watching with disbelief at this scene. Because the minute spatial distortion controlled by Dongbua Shuang only affected the region where the venomous liquid was located. It did not affect the incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire at all. Hence, the incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire did not discover where the problem lay. Ha, my son, there are experts protecting you in the dark. My Yingshan clan really has many experts. Yingshan Lai, who felt great joy when he saw this. Yes, there is also a mysterious great expert. Tian Yiji was also excited. We still have experts. The morale of all the hidden guards and bodyguards present was greatly boosted. Shuang sat there with a look of joy on his face. Such a formidable expert. I wonder who he is. There was no other way. He was only born 5 million years ago, yet he was able to display the strength of the Divine Yuan Palace level 8? After all, that simple domain-type technique was already at the 8th level. This completely exceeded the scope of a genius. If he were to be exposed, Dongbush Shuang was afraid of attracting the attention of some horrifying old fellows in Realm Heart Great Land. After all, reincarnation was something Dongbush Shuang suspected he was not the only one who did it. Hence, it was better to be cautious. This move of distorting the void was like a street that was originally straight. Dongbush Shuang then warped this street to another street. As the venomous liquid traveled on the street, it naturally followed the warped street and entered the other street. Similar logic. The surrounding void had been controlled by Dongbush Shuang to distort and become chaotic. Moving from this direction would naturally lead him to another direction. It might seem like teleportation, but in reality, it was entirely different. Teleportation relied on the transmission of spatial ripples. And this was a technique that altered the entire spatial structure. This technique was incredibly formidable. Dongbush Shuang had just comprehended it, yet it was already at the primal chaos realm. Of course, it was also because of his deep accumulations. His Tao of Void had reached the primal chaos realm in the laws and profound mystery system, and his eyesight, which allowed him to rapidly comprehend this move from the spear body of this damaged secret treasure weapon. If it were others, even those void lineage experts who relied on their bloodline to reach the primal chaos realm would have a hard time comprehending this technique when facing this spear body. Naturally, Dongbush Shuang did not feel proud at all. Instead, he admired the refiner of this spear body. I have merely comprehended the tip of the iceberg. This spear body isn't even a complete secret treasure. Dongbush Shuang thought, I really wonder who the original owner of this spear body is. Saying it was slow, but the mental state of Dongbush Shuang only lasted for an instant. All the surrounding protectors, including the incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire, were feeling joyous. Right at this moment, Hong! A pavilion not too far away suddenly exploded. A humanoid life form turned into a stream of light and charged over. Previously, its aura was completely concealed, and no one could sense it. But at this moment, its aura was completely unleashed. In an instant, its aura became so strong that it became the strongest existence present. It was even stronger than the 100 hidden guards. It was even stronger than old devil Nianjiu, who executed the combined technique. It had a pair of inverted joints and a pair of long arms similar to that of a gorilla. Its entire body was covered in scales, and it had a single deep green eye. Nianjiu, work together with the magic servant to kill that snow eagle prince. After this matter is done, I'll hand over the remaining 12 million cosmos crystals. A transmission was transmitted over to Old Devil Nianjiu. Ha! Old Devil Nianjiu was in great joy. Only now did he know that behind Qiangan Shui was this great devil. Palace Master, you can be rest assured. Old Devil Nianjiu's fighting spirit shot to the sky. Being a relatively famous assassin in the Black Devil Great Lake, he naturally recognized this great devil of the Black Devil Great Lake. Even though the gap between their statuses was huge, he had avatar techniques and was not afraid. Not good. On the other side, the incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire had a huge change in expression as he watched that humanoid life form charging over. Magic Servant Chao Qing? The incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire recognized him. Hong! Under the berserk state of this magic servant, its frontal charge was beyond that of Old Devil Nianjiu. He and Old Devil Nianjiu worked together, and almost instantly broke through the defensive formation formed by the Dark Guards. The Dark Guards were sent flying in all directions and were unable to stop them. Be it Old Devil Nianjiu or Demon Servant Chao Qing, they did not pursue the Dark Guards. They only had one goal, young Master Snow Eagle. Demonic Servant Chao Qing? He is truly willing. The incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire rushed forward. Scram! The magic servant roared out with a claw, causing the void to explode. The incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire directly shattered apart. At that moment, the eyes of the incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire were filled with unwillingness and fury, as well as an apology towards that Shan's Snow Eagle who could not resist at all on the carriage. Snow Eagle, it is I, Ardent Fire, who is useless. Marquis Ardent Fire felt his heart aching. Whoosh, whoosh. Magic servant Chao Qing and old devil Nianzhou's 6 clones charged over at the same time. Dongbua Shuang sat on the carriage with a spear in his hand. He remained calm and said, Demon servant? According to the scriptures, this should be the magic servant Chao Qing, right? The refinement of puppets in the realm Heart Great Land was much more profound. Magic servant Chao Qing was a fleshy life-form puppet that was loyal and devoted. Being a puppet, if its master wanted it to die, it would do its best to die. Even though he felt that his son did not like him, and had never given him any cosmos crystals, he did not care. I, Yingshan Lai Hu, have a son called Yingshan Snow Eagle. I can die, but my son can't. Yingshan Lai Hu seemed mad. Dongbua Shuang sat there, seeing old devil Nianzhou and magic servant Chao Qing rushing over like streams of light. The gaze of Dongbua Shuang turned cold. Hong, the void in the surrounding 500,000 kilometers suddenly distorted. It was a scene of apocalypse. This distorted void naturally enveloped everyone present, including magic servant Chao Qing and the 6 great avatars of old devil Nianzhou. Chapter 1032. Magic servant Chao Qing and old devil Nianzhou joined hands to attack. They used all their strength because they were wary of the hidden experts. They had seen the scene of Venom being lured away, sneaking around. Even if I'm afraid he won't be that strong. The two of them were not afraid. One was a magic servant, and the other had 6 avatars. What was there to be afraid of? As long as they succeeded in killing Prince Snow Eagle, losing a few avatars was a small matter. Hong, the void in the surrounding 500,000 kilometers suddenly distorted. Magic servant Chao Qing and old devil Nianzhou sensed their surroundings in shock. The surrounding void was completely chaotic. Previously, they could clearly see Prince Snow Eagle. Now that the void was chaotic, their bodies were being teleported away, and they could no longer see Prince Snow Eagle. Old devil Nianzhou's 6 avatars were all changing their positions. Naturally, their combined technique was broken. Chi chi chi! Countless cracks appeared on the 6 bodies of old devil Nianzhou. He widened his eyes in disbelief. I died just like that. Where's the enemy? Where's the enemy? Hua! His 6 bodies were destroyed. Old devil Nianzhou could not find the enemy even in death. If one were to say that the activation of Venom was the subtle control of Dongbua Shuiying's domain technique, then this was the full explosive power of his domain. Usually, he would practice within the Void God Pagoda. This was the first time he used it to kill an enemy. 2 spatial distortions were used on a single body at the same time. One of the spatial distortions wanted to teleport the upper body to the north, while the other wanted to teleport the lower body to the south. The result of using them at the same time was, Poochie, the body would be sliced apart by the distorted void. In that instant, all 6 avatars of old devil Nianzhou suffered more than 1,000 slashes, and were directly destroyed. At another location, magic servant Chao Qing's body also suffered more than 1,000 slashes. But being a primal chaos realm flesh puppet, his realm was low, but his fleshy body was strong, and his strength was tyrannical. Dongbua Shuang might be at the 8th level, but it was ultimately a domain technique. The distortion of the void was unable to tear apart magic servant Chao Qing's body. Come out! Magic servant Chao Qing let out a frenzied roar. He could not see the enemy. His body is quite strong. Dongbua Shuang, who was sitting on the chariot, placed his spear on his thigh and lightly tapped the air with his right hand. He was clearly sitting there, far away from magic servant Chao Qing. But this fingertip, clearly, Dongbua Shuang had distorted the void, allowing his finger to connect with Chao Qing's head. Pooh! His fingertip tapped the demonic servant's glabella. Without any defense, he bore the full brunt of the terrifying power of the finger. demonic servant Chao Qing widened his eyes. Following that, his body silently disintegrated. He disintegrated at the particle level and turned into nothingness. With a point of his finger, demonic servant Chao Qing dissipated like dust. Dongwu Shuang was still sitting there, seemingly not moving at all. The 10th style of the Southern Cloud 12 Sacred Styles. Smoke and dust scattering. Like the secret treasure spear body, one had to comprehend it himself. Dongwu Shuang had to spend a lot of effort to comprehend the God Yuan Palace 7th level domain technique. By relying on the spear body, he was able to reach the 8th level power. But the Southern Cloud 12 Sacred Styles was different. This was an extremely detailed absolute art. Shuang could even comprehend the void bloodline in his body. Hence, he had already grasped the 9th and 10th style of the God Yuan Palace 8th level technique. The 10th style, smoke and dust scattering, was known for its terrifying power. But this technique was too simple and could be easily broken. The 9th style was comparatively more unpredictable, and its power was slightly weaker. Nevertheless, by relying on the domain, the enemy could not defend against it at all, allowing him to bear the full might of the smoke and dust scattering. The combination of the domain and smoke and dust scattering could be said to be a perfect match. This combined technique could be said to be at the peak of the 8th level. Magic servant Chao Qing's body dissipated under a single strike. What? The surrounding void was chaotic. Explosions could be heard. The dark guards present could feel the chaos in their surroundings. They could even see many pavilions and residences by the side of the street being teleported away. They were now floating in midair. Everything had been settled. All the buildings, mansions, and houses that had been teleported away and floating in the air for 1,000,000 miles around them had all returned to their original positions. Some of the cultivators who were enveloped by the void within the region of 500,000 kilometers had returned to their original positions. Such a formidable expert! Tian Yi and the others excitedly looked around them. They shouted out, "Many thanks, Senior, for saving our clan's prince." "Many thanks, Senior." The female attendant Ying also added at this moment. Yingshan Lai who sat on the carriage. He rubbed his head and let out a breath. He was so frightened that his legs turned soft. He turned to Dongwu Shuang by the side. "My son, rest assured. My Yingshan clan has a deep foundation and must have arranged for a formidable expert to protect you. How could those assassins succeed?" Yingshan Lai who was weak and had poor eyesight. He did not understand how terrifying the enemy this time was. "Many thanks, Senior, for saving my life." Dongwu Shuang shouted out too. Even though he had pointed out with his finger previously, at that time, he had also distorted the surrounding void. Even if others stared at him, they could only see his body sitting there. They could not see where his finger was because the void was distorted there. Since he acted, he would naturally not leave behind any flaws. The black-robed devil master who was watching from afar saw the distorted void. When the void regained its calmness, old devil Nianjiu and magic servant Chao Qing had disappeared. 2 experts at the 7th level of the Yuanshan Palace disappeared without a trace in an instant? What kind of strength was that? Even if Marquis Ardent Fire acted, it is impossible for him to be this fast. The expression of the black-robed devil master turned cold. After all, the void was suppressed, and one could not teleport. One had to fly to kill the enemy. Old devil Nianjiu had 6 avatars, and magic servant Chao Qing's body was relatively strong too. The surrounding void is suppressed, and time-space is distorted. Who could kill Nianjiu and magic servant Chao Qing in an instant? Does the Yingshan clan have such an expert? The black-robed devil master pondered for a moment. Only that unfathomable old Mother Yingshan from the Yingshan clan could do it. But what identity did old Mother Yingshan have? She would definitely be protecting the Yingshan city. The Yingshan city was much bigger and more important than the Ardent Fire city. It was much more important too. Given the distance and the lack of an ultra-long-distance spatial teleportation technique, it was impossible for her to protect Snow Eagle in time. "Who is it?" Unless it is an expert living in seclusion in the ardent fire city? Seeing that the talent of that little snow eagle is high, he decided to protect him? The black-robed devil master could only think of this point. Consider him lucky. The black-robed devil master turned around and left. The carriage was still in midair. The 8 dragon beasts felt slightly uneasy. The 100 hidden guards, Tianyi, the 9 personal guards, the female attendant Yen Yu, and the group of servants and protectors by the side of Shan Lai who were all startled. They could not regain their calmness for a moment. Prince, previously I saw many pavilions and houses floating by the horizon. The female attendant Yen Yu was slightly excited. In the blink of an eye, they have all returned. I wonder which senior it is. Dongbu Shuang sighed. Truly amazing. This senior might be acquainted with my Yingshan clan for him to help Prince. But Prince should remember this favor. Tian Yiji chuckled. He envied his prince for being able to form a friendship with that expert. Who? In midair, the incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire condensed once again. Marquis Ardent Fire saw that everything was fine. Seeing that Dongbu Shuang was not injured, he let out a sigh of relief. He immediately asked about what happened previously. Just as they were chatting. Who? 2 figures appeared out of thin air. One was a green-eyed old man, and the other was old Mother Yingshan. Old ancestor, Marquis Floating Dust. The incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire immediately went forward. I came late. Old Mother Yingshan looked at the surrounding situation. She chuckled. But it is fortunate that nothing happened. How did you all defend against that magic servant Chao Qing? The incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire shook his head. I do not know either. It should be an expert who is passing by the Ardent Fire City. Old Mother Yingshan looked at the sky. The void gradually warped and revealed the scene of the past, though it was soon disrupted. The assassin has even distorted time-space. Old Mother Yingshan turned to the green-eyed old man by the side. Floating Dust, I'll have to trouble you to investigate. All right. The green-eyed old man nodded. His eyes shot out a faint green light. One could see the scene of the past appearing in the distant sky. It was showing the entire battle from start to end. It's just that when the void was distorted, everything was in chaos. They could only see some regions that Dongbu Shuang did not deliberately conceal. What a formidable domain technique! The green-eyed old man exclaimed. That year, 9 devils and magic servant Chao Qing were exterminated in an instant. Magic servant Chao Qing has a God Yuan Palace 7th level strength when he fully erupts. Furthermore, his body is tyrannical. Killing him in an instant is very difficult. I can't do it, Marquis Ardent Fire said. His combat style was more tyrannical, but the magic servant was not foolish. He knew how to resist and escape. The one who acted should have a strength at the 9th level. Old Mother Yingshan chuckled. What's strange is that he acted to save this brat Snow Eagle. Yet he did not inform this old granny about it, unless it wasn't because of my face? If it was because of her, he should have informed her. He might be living in seclusion in the Ardent Fire City, or he might just be passing by. Old Mother Yingshan shook her head with a smile. No matter what, this expert does not have any malicious intent. We should still thank him. Amen. Marquis Ardent Fire nodded. Old Mother Yingshan and Marquis Ardent Fire could not think of who it was for a moment. At least, nobody within the Southern Cloud Nation fit the description. Nonetheless, the realm Heart Great Land was vast. There were many nations, and there were even the 6 great ancient nations with many experts. There were even more mysterious experts roaming the realm Heart Great Land. Naturally, there were many who were not familiar with Old Mother Yingshan. Little fellow Snow Eagle. Old Mother Yingshan looked at Dongbu Shuang. For him to be able to save you, it means that he has a heart that cherishes talent. Perhaps you might meet him in the future, and you must befriend him. After all, according to their judgment, he was at least a conferred king. In the entire Southern Cloud Nation, there were a total of 21 conferred kings. None of them had such a terrifying technique that could distort the void. Yes. Dongbu Shuang nodded. For you not to panic, your heart realm is quite good. The incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire praised Dongbu Shuiying. As old Mother Yingshan spoke, she was also pondering over who the mysterious expert was. Firstly, she excluded the possibility of him being from the Southern Cloud Nation. It should be an expert outside the nation. She was relatively familiar with the entire Black Devil Four Nations. She knew some devils from the Black Devil Great Lake too, and there were only 2 primal chaos existences that could achieve this. As for the wider world outside the Black Devil Four Nations, there were many more experts. That can be considered an opportunity. Snow Eagle has the talent in the void, and this expert specializes in the void too. Since he acted, who knows if we might be fated to meet in the future. Old Mother Yingshan chuckled. Following that, her expression turned cold. She was pondering over who arranged this assassin. Who was it that wanted the life of the disciple with the greatest talent in the history of her Yingshan clan, Yingshan Snow Eagle? Let me say this beforehand. I will take a day off tomorrow, the day after tomorrow will resume updating, ***. Chapter 1033. Ardent Fire. Old Mother Yingshan's voice remained calm. You are too lax with your Ardent Fire City, allowing so many experts to sneak in. It is I who is useless. Marquis Ardent Fire lowered his head. There is also a magic servant Chao Qing, Old Mother Yingshan nonchalantly said. To be able to send the devil Nianjiu and even send a magic servant as an assassin, the identity of the mastermind behind this should be extraordinary. Marquis Ardent Fire obediently nodded. He was after all a Grandpa Marquis, yet he was not willing to buy a magic servant. Naturally, he could still afford the bottom-tier primal chaos realm magic servant Chao Qing. But since he had been guarding the Ardent Fire City for a long period, he naturally did not feel the need to buy one. It was too extravagant and wasteful. Investigate. Old Mother Yingshan coldly said. Investigate to the end. Fuchen, you should accompany me in this Ardent Fire City for 3 days and help me investigate. The subordinates of Ardent Fire are still too weak in terms of searching for traces. All right. The green-eyed old man chuckled. Old Mother Yingshan was one of the ancient conferred kings in the Southern Cloud Nation. Her strength was also ranked at the forefront. Marquis Fuchen had long received a favor from Old Mother Yingshan when he was weak. After that, the relationship between the two naturally became closer. Dongbu Shuiying and Yingshan Lai who had already stood up on the carriage. Little fellow Snow Eagle. Old Mother Yingshan giggled as she looked at Dongbu Shuiying. You are holding a spear. Why, do you want to fight personally? Old ancestor. Dongbu Shuiying abruptly released his aura. He confidently said, Currently, I have reached the God Yuan Palace 5th level strength. I believe I can still fight against the enemy. Naturally, I am not willing to let myself be captured. The eyes of Old Mother Yingshan brightened at that moment. The Southern Cloud Sacred Body has reached the 5th level? The incarnation of Marquis Ardent Fire was startled too. How rare. It has just been 5 million years, right? Little Prince Snow Eagle has reached the God Yuan Palace 5th level strength. Marquis Floating Dust sighed. You can rely on your bloodline to reach the Unity Realm, but cultivating the Southern Cloud 12 Sacred Styles requires comprehension abilities. Reaching this realm in just 5 million years, his talent is truly amazing. Even though Old Mother Yingshan was happy, she still said, You should stop praising this little fellow. His bloodline is extraordinary, and coincidentally, it originates from the void bloodline of the king. It is easy for him to comprehend the bloodline transformations and cultivate the Southern Cloud 12 sacred styles. It is not bad for him to reach this stage in 5 million years. She was afraid that Dongbu Shuiying would be too arrogant. After all, he was the one with the greatest talent in the history of the Yingshan clan. If he were too arrogant and became arrogant, he would not be devout and serious in his cultivation. That would greatly affect his future. Snow Eagle, little doll. Old Mother Yingshan chuckled. Even though you have a God Yuan Palace 5th level strength, both that magic servant and old devil Nianjiu have a God Yuan Palace 7th level strength. If they want to kill you, they can really kill you with a flip of their hand. I know, but it is impossible for me to resist and allow them to kill me. Dongwu Shuang added. Old ancestor, I have reached this level of strength and should be able to go to the capital, right? Go to the main religion of the Southern Cloud Sacred Religion and learn the complete Southern Cloud 12 sacred styles. Amen. Old Mothering Shan and Marquis Ardent Fire could not help but nod. You have to go, and do it as soon as possible. Marquis Ardent Fire added. There are many experts in the main religion of the Southern Cloud Sacred Religion. It will be more beneficial to you if you cultivate there. Old Mothering Shan said. It is best for you to cultivate there for a few more days. With your talent, I'll find some old friends and let you become an inner disciple of the Southern Cloud Sacred Religion. Many thanks, old ancestor. Dongwu Shuang said. You should go back and rest first. I'll arrange for you to set off after a few days. Old Mothering Shan said. Waving her hand, she enveloped Dongwu Shuang, Yingshan Lai Hu, Tian Yiji, and the group of protectors and servants. She forcefully teleported Dongwu Shuang and the others to the Ardent Fire Marquis Dam. Clearly, with old Mothering Shan's strength, it was not hard for her to teleport through a short distance without the void suppression. Of course, she could not achieve ultra-long distance teleportation. The expression of old Mothering Shan sunk. I do want to see who is the one behind this. The eyes of Marquis Ardent Fire flashed with cold light. Clearly, he was infuriated this time. The entire Ardent Fire city was in a state of panic. Hua hua hua! The entire Ardent Fire army was practically moving out. Many teams of Ardent Fire army were flying above the Ardent Fire city. They were investigating various places. Old Mothering Shan merely left behind an incarnation here. She brought Marquis Floating Dust to oversee the place. If she discovered any suspicious points, she would personally investigate with Marquis Floating Dust. With her around, even the other giant of the Ardent Fire City, Chun Yue, who controlled the Southern Cloud Sacred Palace, had ordered his subordinates to temporarily return to their respective locations. Speak! The plump Chun Yufeng knelt there. His face was filled with sweat. Marquis Ardent Fire sat there with a group of soldiers around him. Marquis Ardent Fire coldly stared at Chun Yufeng. Yes, I've said everything. But Grandpa Marquis, this is unrelated to me. Pavilion Master Chun Yufeng shouted out. He had sought help from the clan, yet the clan merely told him to fully cooperate with the Yingshan clan. Old Mother Yingshan was furious. Even though the Chun Yu clan was one of the 3 great emperor-ranked clans, it was impossible for them to infuriate Old Mother Yingshan for the sake of a little fellow. Being a conferred king, Old Mother Yingshan could casually kill Chun Yufeng without any punishment. Many chains of grey businesses were pulled out. Many aristocratic clan disciples were captured and interrogated. These aristocratic clan disciples no longer had a future in terms of strength. Naturally, they wanted to earn more resources. Naturally, some of them interfered in some grey businesses. Now they were implicated by that Qiangan Shui, suffering from the calamity. Qiangan Shui, it is fortunate that you died early. Otherwise, I'll definitely not forgive you. Chun Yufeng gritted his teeth as he was locked in the prison. He had suffered from many interrogations and punishments during the short 2 days. He had even been sent to the Yingshan clan ancestral family to be interrogated in the illusory realm. Even so, Marquis Ardent Fire still locked him up. He, Chun Yufeng, was still from the Chun Yu clan. His status was relatively high, yet he barely survived. This time, the Yingshan clan investigated the entire Ardent Fire city. There were even aristocratic clan disciples who helped contact Old Devil Nianjiu, yet all of them were killed. Many of those who did grey businesses with low statuses were either imprisoned or killed as long as they were suspected to be subordinates of Qiangan Shui. During these 3 days, all aristocratic clan disciples in the entire Ardent Fire city became much more low profile. They could act wantonly when facing ordinary commoners. But killing commoners would result in them being fined. But Old Mothering Shan did not receive any punishment for killing them. Naturally, Old Mothering Shan would not kill indiscriminately. There were some hidden rules between the aristocratic clans in the southern Cloud Nation. Humph. Within the Ardent Fire City, within an ordinary underground cultivation room within an ordinary residence, the black-robed Devil Master was currently seated cross-legged here. With how vast the Ardent Fire City was, there were many cultivators. It was impossible for him to investigate every single household. And the incarnation of the Devil Master had been hiding within the Ardent Fire City. He had never interacted with his subordinates. Anxious? Is he mad? Just a single assassination, and he did not succeed. Why is he so furious? The edge of the black-robed Devil Master's lips curled upwards. Marquis Ardent Fire, you sure can't keep your composure. He closed his eyes. He sat cross-legged and fell into a deep sleep. To him, this was merely a greeting to Marquis Ardent Fire. Chapter 1034. 3 days later. Fog pervaded the place. Dongbush Shuang was currently drinking alone in a pavilion by the lake. A spear was placed on his knees. Because the incarnation of Old Mothering Shan was in the Ardent Fire City, Dongbush Shuang merely sent his consciousness into the spear body to comprehend it. He did not practice it. As they drank, Yen Yu occasionally poured wine for them. Snow Eagle! A voice rang out. The red-haired male Marquis Ardent Fire and another black-robed bewitching young man flew over. Dongbush Shuang kept his spear and stood up. Marquis! Dongbush Shuang replied. His eyes couldn't help but land on the black-robed devilish young man. The devilish young man was holding a folding fan in one hand and was fanning himself. His aura was extremely devilish as well. I'm demonic servant Blood Rain. The black-robed demonic young man folded his fan and bowed. Old Mother bestowed upon me the name Yingshan Zi Bai. In the future, I will be Prince's protector. The day Prince breaks through to the primal chaos realm will be the day I return to the ancestral family. Dongbush Shuang was shocked. Demonic servant Blood Rain? It was rare for flesh puppets to reach the primal chaos realm, and there were even fewer that could be mass-produced. The magic servant Chao Qing was considered one of the weakest. It was the cheapest, but it still required 50 million cosmos crystals. There were some that could be refined into cosmos gods. But the magic servant Blood Rain was different. Only one of the 6 great ancient nations, the Summer Wind Ancient Nation, could refine it. Usually, it could maintain strength at the God Yuan Palace 7th level. At the crucial moment, he could ignite his body to unleash the power of the Divine Yuan Palace level 8. Because of the damage to his body after the battle, he would need to absorb a large amount of external items to replenish himself. A magic servant that could erupt with a God Yuan Palace 8th level power, this was a horrifying price. It was comparable to the price of 6 Chao Qings. Marquis Ardent Fire might not be able to afford it even if he sold his entire fortune. Only Old Mothering Shan could easily buy him and bestow him the name Yingshan Zi Bai. I'll have to trouble Zi Bai in the future, Dongbush Shuang said. It is my honor to be your guard. Zi Bai held a folding fan in his hand and bowed gracefully. Snow Eagle, old ancestor, is afraid that the mastermind of this assassination would not let the matter rest. That is why he sent Zi Bai over, Marquis Ardent Fire said. You didn't manage to find out who the mastermind is? Dongbush Shuang asked. I can only deduce that he should be a devil from the Black Devil Great Lake. Marquis Ardent Fire shook his head. Dongbush Shuang's heart tightened. Black Devil Great Lake? Including the Southern Cloud Nation, the surrounding 4 nations were collectively known as the Black Devil 4 Nations. Why? It was precisely because their neighboring Black Devil Great Lake was a famous gathering place for devils across the entire realm Heart Great Land. Some terrifying devils that were wanted by the 6 great ancient nations yet could not be dealt with were hiding in the Black Devil Great Lake. The 6 great ancient kingdoms could still make them flee. As for the other Tier 2 nations like the Southern Cloud Nation, they had a headache dealing with the Black Devil Great Lake. After all, The Black Devil Great Lake had more than 10 cosmos gods, and there were even terrifying great devils that had once wreaked havoc in the 6 great ancient nations. A devil from the Black Devil Great Lake sent his subordinates to assassinate me? Donghua Shuang felt puzzled. It should be an enemy that my Yingshan clan provoked. Marquis Ardent Fire said. The Yingshan clan has existed for a long period, and it is inevitable for them to interact with the devils from the Black Devil Great Lake. The Yingshan clan isn't willing to be bullied and humiliated. Hence, they would occasionally go on a killing spree. Interact with devils? Donghua Shuang felt bewildered. Why would a conferred king clan in the Southern Cloud Nation interact with devils? Wait until you reach the primal chaos realm. You will know these. Marquis Ardent Fire said. This matter should not be delayed. You should hurry to the capital. All right, I've prepared everything and can set off any time. Donghua Shuang grinned. Zibai immediately waved his folding fan. Fanning himself, he chuckled. It has been a long time since I went to the capital. This time, I can follow Prince to the capital to have a look. That day, Donghua Shuang brought along magic servant Zibai, Tian Yi, 2 black stream cloud wolves, 9 personal guards, and a female attendant Yenyu. Even though his mother Rong Xinglan asked him to bring more female attendants over, Donghua Shuang was used to bitterly cultivating in his previous life. Hence, bringing a female attendant was sufficient to deal with his mother. Who? At the Ardent Fire City, they first arrived at one of the 3 great Emperor rank cities, the Pure Resistance City. Following that, they once again passed through the teleportation array at the Pure Resistance City before heading to the capital. Hua, the space regained its calm. A white-robed handsome young man was accompanied by a female attendant, a gray-robed old man, and a black-robed devilish male who was fanning himself. The 2 black stream cloud wolves looked around them and let out a low roar. The 9 personal guards were even more solemn. The Southern Cloud Capital. Donghua Shuang watched. In the sky, many strands of light were revolving. The city was so big that one could not see the end of it. Being the biggest city in the Southern Cloud Nation, the Southern Cloud King personally presided over this city. It was also the location of one of the 10 great religions in the entire Realm Heart Great Land, the Southern Cloud Sacred Religion. The Southern Cloud Capital was a famous city in the entire Realm Heart Great Land. It was common for experts from other nations to come here. There were even many superpowers from the 6 great ancient nations that had branches here. The number of cultivators who came to the main religion of the Southern Cloud Sacred Religion was even more frightening. This Southern Cloud Capital feels 10 to 100 times more stable than the Blade Emperor city of the 6 great holy grounds in the Primal Chaos Void. Donghua Shuang was inwardly startled. No choice. There were too many cosmos gods in the Realm Heart Great Land. Naturally, their understanding of arrays was much deeper. There were likely many who surpassed Wu Zhu in the field of arrays. In addition, Southern Cloud King was the sect master of one of the 10 great religions. He was considered wealthy even amongst cosmos gods. Naturally, he could purchase some powerful and terrifying arrays. The Southern Cloud King himself was sufficiently frightening. Within the Southern Cloud Capital, he was practically unparalleled. Prince, our Yingshan clan has a courtyard here too. Magic servant Zibai chuckled. Why don't you rest in the courtyard first? Old Mother has already arranged for it. Once the Southern Cloud Sacred Religion main religion is done, Prince can head over. All right. Donghua Shuang nodded. Southern Cloud Capital, Yingshan Courtyard. There were many disciples from the Yingshan clan here. Some were cultivating here, and some were responsible for some businesses. But when Donghua Shuang came, he immediately became the person with the highest status in the Yingshan courtyard. It's that Snow Eagle Prince. He has come to the capital. Even though there were 3 elders from the ancestral family presiding over this place. But since Donghua Shuang had magic servant Zibai as his protector, the 3 elders naturally lowered their heads. They did not mind since this Snow Eagle Prince was destined to become a conferred marquis at the Primal Chaos Realm in the future. They arranged a banquet to welcome him passionately. Prince Snow Eagle, this isn't the Yingshan city, And neither is it the ardent fire city. There were as many experts here as there were clouds in the sky, and there were even more people with distinguished statuses. It is fine if they are royal disciples or geniuses from emperor-ranked clans. But there are some who come from the great clans of the 6 great ancient nations. There are even royal disciples from the 6 great ancient nations. Even the most domineering crown prince of our southern cloud nation does not dare to offend them. That's right. Prince Snow Eagle, it is best for you to be more low profile here. The elders and disciples from the ancestral family were discussing. Dongbush Shuang sighed inwardly when he heard that. Magic servant Zibai fanned himself from the side. He indifferently said, Prince, don't worry. Old Mother asked me to bring along a Southern Cloud sacred order. As long as you don't take the initiative to offend her, there is no need for you to care about the disciples from the 6 great ancient nations. Actually, the disciples from the 6 great ancient nations have different statuses too. There aren't many who could force us to retreat. Southern Cloud Sacred Order? The 3 elders from the ancestral family were startled. Southern Cloud Sacred Order. It was bestowed by the king. Old Mother Yingshan only had a single piece of it. Naturally, given the strength of Old Mother Yingshan, the Sacred Order was merely for show. Only in Dongbush Shui Ying's hands, the Sacred Order could protect him. Old Mother really dotes on Prince Snow Eagle. The 3 elders and other disciples present could not help but feel envious. Dongbush Shuang was not a cultivation maniac who did not know anything. Naturally, he would not offend a powerful enemy for no reason. On the 2nd day after he arrived at the capital, he immediately set off for the treasured goods market. The treasured goods market could be found in any city. The Southern Cloud capital was one of the few big cities in the entire Realm Heart Great Land. The treasured goods market here was much more flourishing than that of the Ardent Fire City. Even from afar, one could feel the radiance of treasures diffusing out. There were shops opened by the royal family, and there were also shops opened by the great clans from the 6 great ancient nations. All sorts of treasures could be seen here. Amazing. Truly amazing. Dongbush Shuang looked around. His horizons were broadened. Truly broadened. Amen? Walking on the streets of the treasured goods market, Dongbush Shuang frowned. With a flip of his hand, a spear appeared in his hand. The body of the spear gave off a vague feeling of struggling. It seemed to be attracting something from afar. What is attracting it? Dongbush Shuang felt his heart moving. He hurriedly walked in that direction. Magic servant Zibai, Tianyi Ji, and the others might be puzzled, but they still followed behind. It is over there. Dongbush Shuang saw a shop with a circular pointed roof. Dongbush Shui Ying's vision penetrated through the void obstruction. He could immediately see the 3rd floor of that circular shop. There were a total of 12 floating treasures, and one of them was a spearhead. Chapter 1035. The spearhead floated there. It seemed simple, yet the spearhead was emitting many distorted spatial ripples. At the same time, many layers of arrays enveloped this spearhead, trapping it like an eggshell. This was also to prevent some customers from having thoughts of snatching it. Even though the entire treasured goods market was covered in arrays, and this was the capital of the Southern Cloud Nation, it was foolish to snatch it. But occasionally, there would be those who were hot-headed and felt that their escaping capabilities were great. Hence, they naturally set up a restriction that prevented them from touching such secret treasures. Let's go take a look at that shop, Dongbush Shuang said. The group of subordinates followed Dongbush Shuang to the front of the shop. The shop occupied a huge area, and there was a unique ancient character above the shop, Fan. Fan clan? Magic servant Zibai lightly fanned himself from the side. The Fan clan is one of the 3 biggest clans in the Summerwind Ancient Nation. It is one of the few clans in the entire Realm Heart Great Land. Dongbush Shuang nodded as he listened. The Fan clan was a famous clan in the entire Realm Heart Great Land. It was one of the 3 great clans in the Summerwind Ancient Nation, and there were dozens of cosmos gods in the Fan clan. Just a single Fan clan could suppress one of the 6 great ancient nations, the Towering Sky Ancient Nation. Clearly, even though the 6 great ancient nations had high statuses, there were still differences in strength. The towering Sky Ancient Nation was ranked at the bottom. The Fan clan is truly tyrannical. Dombush Shuang sighed inwardly. A single clan could suppress the towering Sky Ancient Nation. This prince, please come in. At that moment, a beautiful female attendant came forward to welcome the other party. Dombush Shuang brought his subordinates in. Even though the first level of the shop was relatively vast, and there were many winding corridors within, Dombush Shuang's vision could easily penetrate through the many obstructions of the void, allowing him to see the treasures on the first level. There isn't a single secret treasure. Dombush Shuang shook his head inwardly. Let's go to the second floor. Dombush Shuang directly went to the second floor. There were some secret treasures on the second floor, but with the judgment of Dombush Shuang, they were all slightly weaker secret treasures. They were most likely meant for primal chaos existences to use. Soon, Dombush Shuang headed to the third floor. Sir, you are only allowed to bring 2 subordinates on the third floor. At the staircase leading to the third floor, there was a waiter blocking the way. Obviously, the third floor of this shop was not ordinary. If he brought a group of subordinates with him, what would the bustling scene be like? Zibai, Elder Tian, follow me. Dombush Shuang ordered. Yes. Magic servant Zibai and Tian Iji followed behind. The 3 of them arrived at the third floor of the Fan clan's shop. The third floor was about the same size as the first and second floors below. In fact, there were only 12 floating secret treasures, and each of them had a female attendant standing beside them. Young lord, do you wish to see the secret treasures? This branch of my Fan clan located in the southern cloud capital is ranked in the top 100 across the many branches spread across the realm Heart Great Land. A plump old man walked over with a chuckle. The faint aura coming from his body was that of a primal chaos expert. Magic servant Zibai waved his folding fan. He transmitted over. Prince, this old man should be a magic servant too, though I can't discern what kind of magic servant he is. Dombush Shuang softly nodded. Primal Chaos Realm Magic Servant. For an apex clan like the Fan clan, they were more willing to let magic servants handle some of their businesses. Because magic servants were absolutely loyal, and would not be greedy for their possessions. Prince, please take a look at this secret treasure, the Cloud Sky Hammer. The plump old man pointed to an enormous black hammer that was floating by the side that was taller than a human. This is a secret weapon used by the famous Paragon Matron's slave from the towering Sky Ancient Nation during the First War of the Ancient Nations. Paragon Matron's slave later refined a secret treasure that was more suitable for her, and this Cloud Sky Hammer was no longer used. After many transactions, it landed in the hands of my Fan clan, and we temporarily placed it here. It is also considered the protection treasure of our branch in the southern cloud capital. Oh right. This secret treasure also contains an absolute art of Paragon Matron's slave, the Cloud Sky Hammer technique. Dombush Shuang looked at that floating black hammer that was emitting a horrifying pressure. This was much more terrifying than the 12 primal beads he once owned. What's the price? Dombush Shuang asked. The plump old man grinned. 8 billion cosmos crystals. The eyelids of Dombush Shuang twitched when he heard that. 8 billion? Could old Mother Yingshan afford it? That might not be the case. After all, this is a weapon used by Paragon Matron's slave during the First War of the Ancient Nations. Several cosmos gods have died under this weapon. The plump old man said, It is worth it for cosmos gods to sell all their treasures to buy it. Dombush Shuang understood after hearing it. This was a protection treasure, and it was something the Fan clan deliberately used to flaunt their foundation. How could such a treasure be sold so easily? Most formidable secret treasures would only be bought by powerful cultivators that they liked. Only then would they be willing to pay a high price. Amazing, amazing. Dombush Shuang gave a few words of praise before continuing looking at other secret treasures. Walking and stopping at times, he soon arrived at the spearhead that Dombush Shuang longed for. This spearhead has some origin. The plump old man chuckled. Its owner seems to have some relationship with my Fan clan. Dongbush Shuang felt his heart moving. Its owner? It seemed the Fan clan knew the detailed origin of this spearhead. A very long time ago, before the first war of the ancient nations. That time, the realm Heart Great Land was more chaotic and not as orderly as it is now. At that time, the Summer Wind Ancient Nation had yet to be founded. The plump old man said, My Fan clan's great paragon Lu Tian had once befriended a good friend when he roamed the realm Heart Great Land. He was called Scarlet Cloud Paragon Master. That was a horrifying existence not any weaker than great paragon Lu Tian. Nonetheless, Scarlet Cloud Paragon Master was too unbridled and arrogant. He was unwilling to submit, and ultimately lost his life. Naturally, that was before the first war of the ancient nations. I only know bits and pieces of it. But this spearhead has been seen by great paragon Lu Tian before. It is indeed the spearhead of Scarlet Cloud Paragon Master's weapon, the Scarlet Cloud Magic Spear. It's a pity that after so many years, only this spearhead is left. The plump old man shook his head. Dongbush Shuang sighed inwardly. Something that happened before the first war of the ancient nations. That was indeed illusory. Even the historical records were vague. After all, many ancient nations had yet to be established. Scarlet Cloud Paragon Master? I wonder what the price is. Dongbush Shuang asked. Because it is badly damaged, only the spearhead is left. That's why it is cheap. The plump old man chuckled. 500 million cosmos crystals. 500 million? Dongbush Shuang was stunned. And it was cheap. Because cultivating the Southern Cloud's sacred body required precious materials, and currently, he only had a total of 50 million cosmos crystals. This was also after Old Mother Yingshan gave him a total of 50 million cosmos crystals when he broke through to the Unity Realm. 500 million cosmos crystals. This price was truly terrifying. It was even more expensive than Magic Servant Z Bai. It is truly not expensive. Powerful primal chaos existences can buy it even after selling all their treasures. The plump old man said, After all, it is the weapon of Scarlet Cloud Paragon Master. If it were an intact weapon, its price would not be any lower than that Cloud Sky Hammer. But now, it is only 500 million cosmos crystals. That is just a small fraction. He truly could not afford it. Even if he publicized his strength and became a powerful primal chaos existence. He needed time to accumulate treasures. Accumulating treasures? Most of them would be adventuring or fighting. 500 million. Dongbush Shuang felt his heart trembling. Chapter 1036. Take a look. The plump old man chuckled. Aren't you looking at it? Can I hold it in my hand? Dongbush Shuang asked. With the obstruction from the arrays, it is impossible for me to see it clearly. I can only see its outer appearance. Who knows how formidable this spearhead is? Is it suitable for me? He had reached the primal chaos realm in the laws and profound mysteries system, and the Tao of Void. He had many doubts when comprehending the spear body. As long as he inspected the profound mysteries within the spearhead, he would be able to see the entire appearance of the spear. Only by carefully examining it can we know if it is suitable. Magic Servant Z Bai waved his fan by the side and said, Take it out for a look. The plump old man chuckled. He pointed at the floating spearhead that was wrapped in many layers of restrictions. There are many arrays protecting it. If anyone could look at it, why would there be a need for it to be protected by so many arrays? As he spoke to Dongbush Shuang, the plump old man had already ordered his subordinates to investigate the intelligence of this guest. Chief Manager, this young prince is called Yingshan Snow Eagle. He is a genius disciple of the Yingshan clan. He was born as a void god and reached the Unity Realm in 8,000 years. The magic servant by the side is Magic Servant Blood Rain, which Old Mother Yingshan bought in the past because this Snow Eagle little prince has just suffered from an assassination several days ago. The intelligence network of the Fan clan was formidable. Dongbush Shuang was relatively famous in the Southern Cloud Nation. Oh? A small clan like the Yingshan clan? The plump old man was enlightened. The entire Yingshan clan was indeed a small clan in his heart. Only old Mother Yingshan was slightly worthy of his attention. As for the others, they could be ignored. Actually, to the Fan clan, only the royal clan in the entire Southern Cloud Nation was worthy of their attention. After all, the Southern Cloud royal clan had an amazing king. Even with the pride of the 6 great ancient nations, they still held this king in high esteem. The other 3 great emperor-ranked clans were all small clans to them. Dongbush Shuang looked at the plump old man with anticipation in his heart. He did not know that the other party treated him as a disciple of a small clan. Indeed. We can only know if it's suitable if we really look at it carefully. The chubby old man smiled. However, it's protected by layers of arrays. It's impossible for anyone to look at it. Yes. Dongbush Shuang nodded. My Fan clan has its own rules. The chubby old man continued. It depends. Either your strength and status are recognized by us, or you can take out enough treasures to prove that you have the ability to purchase it. Strength and status? Dongbush Shuang was puzzled. Naturally, he did not have the ability to purchase it. His strength is at least that of a conferred king within the Southern Cloud Nation, the plump old man said. Ordinary primal chaos existences aren't qualified to request for it. Status. If it were the princes and princesses of the Southern Cloud Nation, or the disciples from the 6 great ancient nations with extremely high statuses. Or, for instance, the personal disciple of some famous existences in the realm Heart Great Land. Purchasing power is simple. Take out a treasure worth 500 million universe crystals to prove that you can purchase it. The plump old man looked at Dongbush Shuang. Dongbush Shuang was taken aback. There were no treasures. His strength was only at the peak of the 8th level even if he exerted his full strength. Of course, he who cultivated for just 5 million years did not dare to reveal his strength. Status? Did he not hear it? Even in the royal clan, only a few princes and princesses were qualified. Sorry for disturbing you, Dongbush Shuang said. Let us go. Take care. The plump old man remained smiling. Even though he disdained a small clan like the Yingshan clan, basic courtesy was a rule of doing business. After leaving the shop, he actually did not allow me to see it. Tian Yiji shook her head. Didn't he say that he either has sufficient strength and status, or he can afford it? Magic servant Zibai fanned himself with his lips curled. Clearly, the Yingshan clan isn't worth mentioning in the eyes of others. Let's go back, Dongbush Shuang indifferently said. He was not angry. After all, the strong preyed on the weak. Naturally, the rules were stricter. Without strength and status, it was normal for others to not allow him to see it since he could not afford it. Let's wait. Wait until I'm stronger and earn enough cosmos crystals before buying it. It isn't an easy matter to sell this secret treasure, Dongbush Shuang thought. For instance, the Cloud Sky Hammer was a shop protection treasure and had been placed here for a long time. That spearhead was after all damaged, and it was harder to sell it. My luck this time is not bad for me to discover the spearhead here, Dongbush Shuang thought. Discovering it was normal. Because the Southern Cloud capital was the biggest city in the entire Southern Cloud Nation. It was also the safest city. Even the Fan clan and other apex superpowers in the realm Heart Great Land only had a branch in the entire Southern Cloud Nation. Even the internal superpowers within the Southern Cloud Nation would sell some important treasures in the capital. Because there were more external experts in the capital. With Southern Cloud King protecting this place, it was safer. What if some cosmos gods snatched away those formidable treasures if they were placed in a small place? Hence, more than 90% of the treasures in the Southern Cloud Nation were gathered in the capital. As for the most apex secret treasures, 99% of them were located in the capital. Dongbush Shuang came to the capital and discovered the spearhead by relying on his senses. Actually, this was something normal. In the following days, Dongbush Shuang also traveled around the Southern Cloud capital. The majority of his time was spent in the treasured goods market. In other times, he would experience various historical remnants and delicacies. Dongbu Shuiying, who loved delicacies, discovered quite a few apex delicacies and wines in the southern cloud capital. In the blink of an eye, half a month passed. Snow Eagle, old ancestor, has already arranged everything. Tomorrow, you and magic servant Zibai will head to where the main religion of the Southern Cloud sacred religion is located. Marquis Ardent Fire transmitted a message to Dongbu Shuiying. All right. Dongbu Shuiying was in great joy. The main religion of the Southern Cloud sacred religion. Dongbu Shuiying was looking forward to it. Being one of the top 10 great religions in the realm Heart Great Land, it should have collected many absolute art scriptures. One had to know that according to his plan in this life, Shuiying planned to cultivate 2 Tao paths. One was the Tao of Void, and the other was the Mirage and Illusory Realm. The Mirage and Illusory Realm, if he wanted to obtain the apex absolute art scriptures, the most suitable place would be the Southern Cloud's sacred religion. In terms of absolute art scriptures, in the Southern Cloud nation, all other clans added up could not even compare to a single star of the Southern Cloud's sacred religion. The foundation of the Southern Cloud's sacred religion was incredibly terrifying. Prince, there are many rules in the main religion of the Southern Cloud's sacred religion. It is impossible for you to bring a bunch of subordinates over. Today, only the 2 of us will be going over. Magic Servant Zibai said. Wait until you become an inner disciple. We'll arrange a residence for you in the main religion. By then, you can bring all your subordinates over. Let's go, Dongbu Shuiying said. The 2 of them strolled in midair. Every single step they took traversed a huge distance. The entire capital was incomparably huge. Even after teleporting, it took Dongbu Shuiying and Magic Servant Zibai half an hour before they arrived at the main religion of the Southern Cloud sacred religion. Southern Cloud's sacred religion. Dongbu Shuiying looked into the distance. In the distance, there were undulating mountain ranges. One could faintly see some pavilions and buildings amidst the mountain ranges. The entire huge mountain range was enveloped by arrays. This was where the main religion of the Southern Cloud sacred religion was located. Currently, a large number of cultivators were flying towards the main religion. The main religion could only be reached after walking several tens of thousands of kilometers along a path opened within the mountain. On the cliff by the side of the main religion, there were 2 words, Southern Cloud. Hua! Dongbu Shuiying looked at those 2 words. At first glance, they seemed ordinary. At the very most, they were slightly domineering. But if one carefully sensed it, one could vaguely feel an endless void aura bursting out from those 2 words. It was a vast aura that was beyond the concept of the Southern Cloud 12 sacred styles. It was as if one was looking at the endless towering void, and one could only feel reverence. Inshan Snow Eagle? By the entrance of the main religion, there was already a golden-robed male here. When he saw Dongbu Shuiying, he immediately came over with a smile. Prince, this is Marquis Qingdeng. Magic Servant Zibai introduced. Greetings, Marquis Qingdeng. Dongbu Shuiying immediately bowed. I've troubled Marquis Qingdeng this time. It's just a minor matter. There are many hurdles inside, and Old Mother has already resolved them. Today, we are just going through a simple process. After that, you will be an inner disciple. Marquis Qingdeng chuckled. Go, follow me in. Asterisk. Chapter 1037. The Southern Cloud sacred religion was one of the top 10 great religions in the entire realm Heart Great Land. It was extremely difficult to become an inner disciple. But the Southern Cloud sacred religion was more biased towards the citizens of the Southern Cloud nation. After all, it was common for many nations to fight in the dark across the entire Great Land. Hence, their own citizens were naturally more trustworthy. Yingshan Snow Eagle, a disciple of the Yingshan clan. He is a disciple of our Southern Cloud nation's aristocratic clan. A total of 15 primal chaos experts gathered within a palace hall. At the center of them was a projection. That was the scene of a handsome white-robed young man entering the God Yuan Palace. He has a heaven-defying talent the moment he was born. Judging from the aura of his soul, He has never experienced time-accelerated cultivation before. He has cultivated for just 5 million years. Haha, he has already gotten through the 5th level of God Yuan Palace. Fellow Taoists, there are no objections to accepting him into the sect, right? No objections. He has passed. He is the little fellow from old Mother Yingshan's clan. He has passed. The 15 primal chaos experts present chuckled as they spoke. The atmosphere was relaxed. Old Mother Yingshan had already gotten through all the barriers, and everyone present naturally agreed. It was only their own citizens who were more lenient in their assessment. If cultivators from other nations wanted to become an inner disciple, the assessment would be much harsher. Even if their talent was not any weaker than Dongbu Shuang, the requirement for their combat power would be higher. There would even be some entry missions to test the loyalty of the disciples. Because outer disciples did not care about loyalty, and they could join other religions. But the moment they were accepted into the sect, without the consent of the Southern Cloud King, they were absolutely forbidden from joining other religions. The moment they dared to do so, it would be a great crime of betraying the sect. They would be hunted down. Of course, there were many harsh requirements, but becoming an inner disciple would bring them many benefits. Dongbu Shuang walked out of the God Yuan Palace. In the primal chaos void, the opponents within the Star Pagoda are all destruction devils. But the trials within the God Yuan Palace have all sorts of opponents. Dongbu Shuang sighed inwardly. Even though there were more variations within the God Yuan Palace, the level of strength was the same as the Star Pagoda. Naturally, it had an additional 10th level. Yingshan Snow Eagle, congratulations, congratulations. Marquis Qingdang stood outside the God Yuan Palace waiting. He chuckled. I've already received news that you have passed the assessment. You are now an inner disciple of my Southern Cloud sacred religion. Oh, wait a moment, we will go and collect your disciple token, robes, and other things. You can also choose your own cave residence. Thank you, Marquis Qingming. Dongbu Shuang said. It's just a small matter. Let's go get the token. Marquis Qingdang was very enthusiastic. Southern Cloud Sacred Religion, Elder Hall. Yingshan Snow Eagle, from today onwards, you are the 3,392nd disciple of my Southern Cloud Sacred Religion. A silver-haired old man with a grand aura solemnly passed a robe over to Dongbu Shuang. There was even a token placed on the robe. In the future, you aren't just a disciple of the Yingshan clan. You are also a disciple of one of the 10 great religions in Realm Heart Great Land, the Southern Cloud Sacred Religion. You should focus on cultivating and reach the primal chaos realm as soon as possible. It's a humiliation for a disciple of my Southern Cloud Sacred Religion to not reach the primal chaos realm. This disciple understands. Dongbu Shuang respectfully received it. He naturally understood. The conditions to join the Southern Cloud Sacred Religion were harsh. Citizens of the Southern Cloud Nation usually had to reach the Unity Realm's 7th level strength before they could become an inner disciple. Hence, it wasn't a lie to say that it's a humiliation for a disciple to not reach the Primal Chaos Realm. More than 3,000 disciples were the total number of disciples the Southern Cloud Sacred Religion had ever since it was established. Over the long years, many had fallen. Currently, there should only be a few hundred disciples left alive. Nevertheless, it was these few hundred inner disciples that made the Southern Cloud Sacred Religion famous. Of these several hundred inner disciples, very few were citizens of the Southern Cloud Nation. The majority of them were from other nations. Even though the requirements for other nations to join the Southern Cloud Sacred Religion were harsh, there were too many of them. Ultimately, many geniuses chose to join. Clearly, the identity of one of the 10 great religions was extremely attractive. Dongbu Shuang might seem to have an easier time becoming an inner disciple. But in reality, his innate talent was ranked in the top 10 in the history of the Southern Cloud Nation. In terms of comprehension ability, he had reached the Unity Realm 5th level in just 5 million years. His innate talent and comprehension ability were extraordinary. Furthermore, he was one of them. That was why it was easy for him to join. Even though there were many cultivators coming and going from the Southern Cloud Sacred Religion, Almost all of them were outer disciples. But almost all of them were outer disciples. Many outer disciples came to the main sect to get better guidance. Inner disciple. Dongbu Shuang stood on a mountain peak. Behind him was a cavern dwelling. Magic servant Zibai, Tianyi Ji, the female attendant Yen Yu, the two black stream cloud wolves, his personal guards, and others were all settled down. In the future, I'll be tied together with the Southern Cloud sacred religion. Dongbu Shuang thought. South. Dongbu Shuang arced through the sky. He flew towards the distance. The Southern Cloud sacred religion had strict rules. The outer disciples could only move around in the outer region. Even the servants of the inner disciples had a restricted area within the inner core region of the Southern Cloud sacred religion. Hence, this inner core region was clearly deserted. Book Collection Realm. Dongbu Shuang arced through the sky. He arrived at a mountain peak floating amidst the clouds. There was a cave several dozen meters tall on the mountain peak. The two words Book Collection Realm were carved on the cave. This was also the place where Dongbu Shuang collected absolute art scriptures after joining the Southern Cloud sacred religion. Entering the cave, the surrounding space began transforming. Amen? Dongbu Shuang looked around him. He had already entered a vast space. Within this space, there were many scriptures floating. Some of these scriptures were miscellaneous books. Naturally, most of them were absolute art scriptures. There were also many cultivation experiences left behind by seniors like the Southern Cloud 12 sacred styles. There was a complete version of the Southern Cloud 12 sacred styles amidst the countless scriptures. With a glance, Shuang could see more than 10 figures flipping through books or cultivating in this vast space. Those who could enter were at least inner disciples. Let's take a look at those legendary scriptures. Dongbu Shuang felt an itch in his heart. He rapidly flew to the center of this vast space. There was a sky-reaching stone pillar there. On the sky-reaching stone pillar, there were many rows of words. 3 Realms Technique requires 500,000 contribution points to exchange for it. Avatar Technique requires 300,000 contribution points to exchange for it. Great Destruction Realm Teleportation Technique requires 300,000 contribution points to exchange for it. 5 Phases Sealing Technique requires 200,000 contribution points to exchange for it. Star God Body requires 200,000 contribution points to exchange for it. Avatar Technique requires 100,000 contribution points to exchange for it. Voidification Undying Technique requires 100,000 contribution points to exchange for it. The rows of words caused Dongbu Shuang's eyes to brighten. There was the Great Destruction Realm Teleportation Technique, and the Ordinary Destruction Realm Teleportation Technique. The Destruction Realm Teleportation Technique should be his ultra-long distance teleportation technique, and required 50,000 contribution points to exchange for it. A legendary absolute art. Dongbu Shuang praised. He had already learned about these from the various books he read. Being one of the 10 great religions, the Southern Cloud sacred religion had collected many scriptures. Some existed before the First War of the Ancient Nations, and some were unique in the entire Realm Heart Great Land. Even the 6 great ancient nations came here to borrow these scriptures. Naturally, they had to pay a huge price. Naturally, the foundation of the 6 great ancient nations was much stronger than the Southern Cloud sacred religion. They had some unique and powerful absolute art scriptures too. But he was an outsider, and he wanted to join some of the ultra-religions within the 6 great ancient nations. That was difficult. Most outsiders would be discriminated against. The Southern Cloud sacred religion was still his own nation, and it was also one of the 10 great religions in the Realm Heart Great Land. It's a pity that the scriptures listed on the sky-reaching pillars require contribution points to exchange for them. But it is still not bad. This is the price given to inner disciples. If it were an outsider, it would be impossible for him to learn them. Dongbu Shuang sighed. His gaze swept across the many scriptures in this vast space. As for the scriptures in this vast space, they were free to read. Today, there was only one chapter. He was slightly stuck. Star. Chapter 1038. With these books, my chances of breaking through to the cosmos god realm will be much higher. Dongwu Shuang looked at the many books floating in the vast space. His eyes brightened. The books listed by the sky pillar? He temporarily did not have to consider them because he could only exchange for them with a huge contribution points. Currently, he could only accept missions at the Unity Realm from the Southern Sky Sacred Religion, and only after completing them would he be able to earn about 100 contribution points. Furthermore, these missions were extremely complex. Those that were slightly easier would have been snatched by other inner disciples. Almost all inner disciples were at the Primal Chaos Realm, and they could send their incarnations over an ultra-long distance to complete the missions rapidly. If I want to earn contribution points, it's better to wait until I can display my strength at the 9th or 10th level. By then, it'll be much faster to earn contribution points. Dongwu Shuang thought. As for now, it's better for me to build up my foundation. Dongwu Shuang began flipping through many books. The number of books collected by the Southern Cloud Sacred Religion was extremely exaggerated. There were very few that were listed on the sky pillar, less than 100 of them. Everything else was free. Some were absolute art scriptures that led directly to the cosmos god level. Absorbing the crystallization of wisdom from others would broaden my path of cultivation. Dongwu Shuang did not mind learning from others because it could broaden his horizons. Just like how his talent in the Tao of Void was far inferior to the Mirage and Illusory Realm. But after obtaining the inheritance from Void Primogenitor and Emperor Jiuyun, comprehending the scaled armor of General Mo Gu who had the Shadowless talent, and observing the Lost World Corridor for 1,000,000,000 years, his attainments in the Tao of Void continued improving. He had even surpassed the Tao of Slaughter and Tao of Ripple, approaching the Mirage and Illusory Realm. And in this life, he joined the Southern Cloud Sacred Religion that specialized in the Void. They even had the Avatar Technique, Great Destruction Realm Teleportation Technique, and Voidification Undying Technique. Perhaps, in this life, his attainments in the Void would be higher than his attainments in the Mirage and Illusory Realm. That was not impossible. One had the experience of many seniors, the other slowly fumbled about. Naturally, it was different. So many books. Dongwu Shuang spent 2 days to quickly skim through all the books. His achievements in the Void domain were already very high, but there weren't many that caught his eye. There were only 195 books that caught his eye. As for those seniors who guided him in the cultivation of the Southern Cloud 12 sacred styles, Shuang did not care about them at all because not many of those seniors had reached the 10th level strength at the Primal Chaos Realm. Dongwu Shuang naturally did not want to waste any more time. 195. Dongwu Shuang slightly nodded. Of these 195 books, more than 30 were written by Southern Cloud King. As for the others, they were either scriptures that led directly to the cosmos god realm, or some of the more eccentric ones. There are actually quite a few manuals in the Mirage and Illusory Realm. Dongwu Shuang was in a good mood. There were few books related to the Mirage and Illusory Realm that caught his attention. Primarily, there weren't many books related to the Mirage and Illusory Realm in the entire Realm Heart Great Land. There were even fewer in the collection of the Southern Cloud Sacred Religion. There were only 18 books that caught the attention of Dongwu Shuang, and only 2 books that could be cultivated to the Cosmos God level. Furthermore, there were none that could unleash the strength of the 10th level at the Primal Chaos Realm. This was normal too. Unleashing the strength of the 10th level at the Primal Chaos Realm represented that one could fight against Cosmos Gods head-on. This was an absolute technique that was not easily taught to outsiders. Even the Southern Cloud Sacred Religion could only learn it after becoming an inner disciple. Those who were not inner disciples would have to pay a huge price to learn it. Enough. It's sufficient. Dongwu Shuang was delighted because the 18 Mirage and Illusory Realm scriptures had broadened his horizons. He was ultimately a great expert in the Mirage and Illusory Realm who could create a 9th level technique in the Laws and Profound Mysteries system. These scriptures represent different paths of cultivation, greatly increasing my chances of breaking through to the Cosmos God realm. Joining a religion? He did not care about treasures. He did not care about having a backer either. What Dongwu Shuang cared about was the absolute art scriptures left behind by generations of experts in the long history of the realm Heart Great Land. But as the saying went, Tao was not easily imparted. It was not easy for Southern Cloud King to collect so many scriptures with his status and strength. It was impossible for him to casually flip through these scriptures if he did not rely on the religion. Even if he wanted to rely on the religion, Southern Cloud King would not accept him if he did not have the talent and strength. After obtaining these scriptures, Dongwu Shuang first memorized them. Following that, he began cultivating in a low-profile manner within the Southern Cloud sacred religion. He would occasionally flip through some miscellaneous books to broaden his horizons. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, it had been 30,000 years since Dongwu Shuang entered the Southern Cloud sacred religion. Within a desert, a white-robed young man arced through the sky. He was killing his way towards the 9 armored soldiers. These armored soldiers had different weapons. Some wielded sabers, some wielded shields, and some wielded bows and arrows. Who? The white-robed young man's figure flashed. Many strange figures appeared at different locations. It was as if 8 to 9 figures had appeared at the same time. Their speed was fast and unpredictable. It was hard to discern the real from the fake. Pooh! Dongwu Shuang pointed his finger at the back of a soldier. Pun! The back of that soldier directly exploded, forming a huge bloody hole. Fresh blood splattered everywhere. That soldier retaliated with an axe at lightning speed. Nevertheless, Dongwu Shuang had already disappeared. More than 10 ghostly figures charged towards that shield-wielding soldier from different directions. Relying on his horrifying body technique, he could easily trample on these soldiers. After the time taken to brew a cup of tea, these 9 armored soldiers were completely exhausted. They disappeared on the spot. I passed. Dongwu Shuang revealed a grin. In the distance, a pagoda-shaped staircase could be seen. Following the staircase, one could enter the higher God Yuan Palace 7th level. This 7th level was naturally lost by Dongwu Shuang. What? This snow eagle has just entered the sacred religion not too long ago, yet he has passed through the God Yuan Palace 6th level? So fast? Many elders from the Southern Cloud sacred religion were startled when they received the news. It was normal for cultivators to break through rapidly after entering the Southern Cloud sacred religion. But if one considered Dongwu Shuang's age, it would be exaggerated. It was just 5 million years. Did he enter the time-space realm to cultivate? During these 30,000 years, he might have cultivated with a time acceleration of 100 to 1,000 times. He didn't. He did not accelerate time. Judging from the aura of his soul, he should have lived for slightly more than 5 million years. I've asked the Array Spirit before. Other than cultivating in his cavern dwelling, Snow Eagle has practically been flipping through books in the book repository realm. He did not cultivate with a time acceleration. Flipping through books? Oh, that's right too. There are many books in the book repository realm, and many seniors' experiences in cultivating the Southern Cloud 12 sacred styles. This brat Snow Eagle should not have a teacher in the past, and had always been immersed in cultivation in that small place like the Ardent Fire City. Now that he has obtained the guidance of so many seniors, he became enlightened and directly comprehended the God Yuan Palace 6th level strength. It is normal. Amen, that should be the case. Many elders were discussing. Even though they understood that it was normal for an absolute genius who did not receive any guidance in the past to break through after receiving the guidance of so many seniors. Ultimately, he had only cultivated for 5 million years. That was still frightening. Southern Cloud Capital. Within a luxurious residence, there was a bamboo house surrounded by flowing water. A beautiful violet-robed girl sat cross-legged. Her robe was very long, and it practically occupied half the floor of the bamboo house. She was currently holding onto a needle and embroidering a diagram. Master. A male respectfully reported from outside the bamboo curtain of the bamboo house. There's news from the Southern Cloud sacred religion. What's the matter? This girl indifferently replied. Her voice was ethereal and permeated into the soul of others. The male outside could not help but feel his heart tightening. He was clear how frightening his master was. He respectfully reported, "The newest inner disciple of the Southern Cloud sacred religion, Ying Snow Eagle, has crossed through the God Yuan Palace 6th level today. He has cultivated for a total of 5 million years or so. Oh? Send me an invitation to invite him over for a banquet." The girl's voice was filled with a strand of laughter. Times. Chapter 1039. Master, he is called Yingshan Snow Eagle. He is a disciple from the Southern Cloud Nation's Yingshan clan. The male kneeling outside reminded. Old Mother Yingshan has some enmity with my Qianyi clan. Humph, my Qianyi clan has never placed that Old Mother Yingshan in our eyes. It is only Old Mother Yingshan who has been bearing a grudge. The violet-robed girl sneered softly. There is no need to bicker with that old woman. Just send my invitation card and invite that Yingshan Snow Eagle over. As for whether he will come or not, that's his business. Yes. The male respectfully acknowledged. Southern Cloud's sacred religion. Dongbush Shuang was currently seated cross-legged in front of his cavern dwelling by the cliff of the mountain peak. He was breathing in the cold aura of the world while concentrating on deducing his cultivation technique. No other choice. He did not dare to display moves that were too profound within the Southern Cloud sacred religion. One had to know that he had mastered the first 10 styles of the Southern Cloud 12 sacred styles, leaving only the final 2 styles. If he wanted to comprehend them, Dongbush Shuang was 99% certain that he would be detected by the array spirit constructed by the Southern Cloud King. No matter if it was the Southern Cloud capital or the Southern Cloud sacred religion, they were too important to the king. They were the territory he had been managing for a long time. The defenses here would definitely be tight without leaving any loopholes. Even the cultivation rooms of the disciples would be monitored by the array spirit. The moment a loophole was left behind, it would be exploited by the enemy in the future, becoming a weak point for the entire Southern Cloud capital. An absolute hero like the Southern Cloud King would definitely not leave behind such loopholes. One had to know that the Great Void Heaven Temple would be monitored everywhere. Under normal circumstances, the Southern Cloud King would not care about the disciples cultivating in their cultivation rooms. Unless an abnormal situation occurred. A young fellow who was 5 million years old actually started practicing the 9th level technique of the God Yuan Palace? That was too bizarre. It would definitely be reported to the king by the array spirit. With the status of the Southern Cloud King, he should know about the reincarnation of an expert from another origin world, right? Dongbush Shuang thought, I wonder what is the king's attitude towards this. Was it goodwill? Or malicious? Was the number 1 expert in the primal chaos void, sacred master, related to the realm heart great land? Dongbush Shuang was not at that level yet. He knew too little, so he did not dare to take the risk. He didn't dare to put his fate in the hands of others. The best way was to disguise himself as an ordinary peerless genius. The degree of improvement in his strength was based on the category of absolute geniuses across the entire realm heart great land. Although he couldn't be considered the most monstrous genius in the 6 great ancient nations, he was qualified to be considered the most monstrous genius in the Southern Cloud Nation. I have learned many precious scriptures from the Southern Cloud sacred religion. Actually, it is time for me to return to the Ardent Fire City. Dongbush Shuang thought. The small Ardent Fire City was much safer. All sorts of security measures were far from being as strict as the Southern Cloud capital. Furthermore, with his current realm, it was impossible for Marquis Ardent Fire to discover his secret. Only in the Ardent Fire City would it be suitable for him to cultivate to his heart's content and display his powerful techniques. Who? A figure flew over from afar. He's here. Dongbush Shuang was slightly delighted. He was in no hurry to leave after obtaining the ancient book. He had been waiting for this day. Junior disciple brother Snow Eagle. A black-robed male chuckled. I am called Tian Chun Shui. I joined the Southern Cloud sacred religion earlier than you. Senior disciple brother Tian. Dongbu Shuang said. I am here to invite junior disciple brother Snow Eagle over for a banquet under the orders of my clan master. The black-robed male waved his hand, causing a dull violet invitation card to fly over. Dongbu Shuang received it. The moment he saw the two words Qian, he frowned slightly. Following that, his expression became much colder. He flipped through the invitation and read the content. He then waved his hand and threw this invitation card back. Bring it back. The black-robed male frowned. Why? Are you not giving face to my clan master? Have you forgotten how your Qian clan plotted against my clan's old ancestor? Dongbu Shuang sneered. All right. The black-robed male snorted. He turned around and left rapidly. Dongbu Shuang watched silently. He stayed in the Southern Cloud's sacred religion until now because he was waiting for someone. But that person was not from the Qian clan. Within the Southern Cloud capital, there were 3 superpowers that loved befriending experts. One was the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince was a child the Southern Cloud King had when he was weak. Even though his talent was slightly weaker, the Southern Cloud King doted on him. This resulted in the domineering personality of the Crown Prince. He was exceptionally prideful and loved befriending experts from all over. But the Crown Prince had high standards. Those he invited would usually be at the Primal Chaos realm. Furthermore, they were all extremely powerful experts at the Primal Chaos realm. Or those with a huge background. Those who were slightly weaker would not enter his eyes. Dongbu Shuang came from the Yingshan clan and was merely at the Unity realm. Hence, he would not enter the eyes of that domineering Crown Prince. The other 2 superpowers that loved befriending experts were from the 6 great ancient nations. One was the Moonflower Ancient Nation's Qian clan. The Moonflower Ancient Nation was ranked at the bottom of the 6 great ancient nations, and was comparable to the Towering Sky Ancient Nation. Unlike the Towering Sky Ancient Nation, which had always remained low profile, the Moonflower Ancient Nation was much more active. Experts from the Moonflower Ancient Nation could be seen practically everywhere in the realm Heart Great Land. They had infiltrated everywhere, searching for ancient historical remains left behind by ancient experts, searching for treasures, absolute art scriptures, and many others. The Qian clan was a huge clan with a total of 8 cosmos gods. Qian Shao was the manager of the Qian clan in the Southern Cloud Nation. She was a great expert at the 9th level Primal Chaos realm. She befriended many people and unknowingly increased the influence of the Moonflower Ancient Nation and the Southern Cloud Nation. It's a pity, because the Qian clan plotted against Old Mother Yingshan during an exploration of ancient historical remains for the sake of treasures. Old Mother Yingshan had a violent temper, and both parties fought fiercely. Nevertheless, the Moonflower Ancient Nation was ultimately one of the 6 great ancient nations, and was far stronger than the Southern Cloud Nation. Just the Qian clan alone had a total of 8 cosmos gods. In the end, Southern Cloud King interfered, and Old Mother Yingshan could only endure this vile feeling. She is here. Dongbu Shuang saw the figure of a girl flying over from afar. That was a girl wearing a light blue robe. After flying over, she chuckled. Junior disciple brother Snow Eagle, I am called Fan Fiki. I am your senior disciple sister. Under the orders of my elder brother, I am inviting you to a banquet. Saying that, a black gold invitation flew over. Dongbu Shuang received the invitation. There was a single word Fan on the invitation. Fan Clan, that was the person he wanted to meet the most. The Southern Cloud Nation capital was a place where only 3 superpowers could be found. His Highness the Crown Prince, Qian Shao from the Qian clan of the Moonflower Ancient Nation, and Fan Tianchong from the Fan clan of the Summer Wind Ancient Nation. The Crown Prince was slightly more domineering. It was mainly because of his reputation that he did things without restraint. Qian Shao and Fan Tianchong were the ones who truly befriended all experts with potential. Dongbu Shuang had broken through to the God Yuan Palace 6th level in just 5 million years. Clearly, he was fancied by them, and they believed that he would become an influential figure in the Southern Cloud Nation in the future. Fan Tianchong. Dongbu Shuang muttered to himself. Fan Tian Chong was the person in charge of the Fan clan in the Southern Cloud Nation. As long as he befriended him, he would definitely give him some face, and let him take a look at the spearhead. It was just a look. He believed that Fan Tian Chong wouldn't reject it. I have stayed in the Southern Cloud sacred religion for so long just to take a closer look at the spearhead and see the profoundness within it. Dongbu Shuang thought to himself. Although he had only seen it once, he was able to remember quite a bit. According to the profoundness of the complete spear of Scarlet Cloud High Lord, he should be able to comprehend more. Although Dongbu Shuang had only comprehended a portion of it, he believed that the absolute art contained within the spear would not be inferior to the complete Southern Cloud 12 sacred styles. Of course, the Southern Cloud 12 sacred styles was easier to learn. After all, there was the complete absolute art. The profoundness within the spear was 10 times or 100 times harder to learn. He had to comprehend it himself. However, with his foundation, he was confident that he could comprehend it. More importantly, with the help of a secret treasure like the spear, the power would be even greater. All right, I will definitely attend the banquet tonight. Dongbu Shuang smiled. Junior brother Snow Eagle, I will come and pick you up tonight. The light blue-robed girl, Fan Fiki, smiled. She had a good impression of the young man in front of her. Times. Chapter 1040. Night descended. On the carriage, Fan Fiki and Dongbu Shuang sat side by side. There were protectors and servants standing by the side. Dongbu Shuang brought magic servant Zibai along with him. Junior disciple brother Snow Eagle, we have arrived. Fan Fiki pointed to the distance. It is indeed the Fan clan. Dongbu Shuang looked afar. The distant residence was vast. The residence in the Southern Cloud capital is even bigger than the Ardent Fire Marquisdom. The Fan clan was one of the 3 great clans in the Summer Wind Ancient Nation. The other 2 great clans in the Summer Wind Ancient Nation were more aloof and arrogant. They disdained setting up branches in other nations. Only the Fan clan could spread their network across every single location in the Realm Heart Great Land. In reality, the superpower clans ranked in the top 10 in the Realm Heart Great Land. They were all prideful. This was normal too. After all, they were too powerful, causing them to disdain befriending some smaller nations. In their opinion, it was better for them to meditate and cultivate if they had the time and energy to become stronger. There were very few superpower clans that were willing to do so. A clan could suppress the towering Sky Ancient Nation. If they were willing, they could easily destroy the entire Southern Cloud Nation. Only the king could escape alive. Dongbu Shuang muttered inwardly. The Fan clan, they were too powerful. Shuang had read too many miscellaneous books in the Southern Cloud Sacred Religion Book Repository realm. Hence, his understanding of the Fan clan deepened. Fan clan. It represented tyranny, cruelty, ruthlessness, and slaughter. It was the only clan amongst the 3 great clans in the Summer Wind Ancient Nation that loved to expand their territory. Even an absolute hero like the Southern Cloud King had to welcome them with a smile. He did not dare to offend the Fan clan. Many talented cultivators chose to rely on the Fan clan, becoming honored guests of the Fan clan. They were loyal to the Fan clan and fought for the Fan clan. Within a towering and luxurious palace hall, several cultivators were already here. They were seated and chatting merrily. A tall and plump male sat on the throne. Big brother Tianchong. Fan Fiki stepped into the hall and shouted. My junior brother Snow Eagle is here. Fan Tianchong sat there looking at Dongbu Shuang with a smile. He announced, Prince Snow Eagle, I've long heard that an absolute genius has appeared in the Southern Cloud Nation. If you don't mind, you can just call me Big Brother Tianchong. Come, hurry up and take a seat. In a while, the Flying Lip Beast feast will begin. This Flying Lip Beast meat has to be eaten while it is being cooked. The moment there is any delay, the taste will become worse. Thank you, Big Brother Tianchong. Dongbu Shuang bowed humbly. Since the other party was being polite, Dongbu Shuang did not dare to slight him. He knew very well, Fan Tianchong, the manager of the Fan Clan branch in the Southern Cloud Nation. Being the highest leader of the Fan Clan in the Southern Cloud Nation, he had a 10th level strength and could fight against Cosmos gods. More importantly, he could mobilize a huge amount of power belonging to the Fan Clan. If one said that the Southern Cloud King was unquestionably the strongest power in the Southern Cloud Nation, then the Fan Clan would be ranked second. Fan Tianchong was faintly the second most authoritative character in the Southern Cloud Nation. Fan Tianchong cultivates the Tearing Skies strength devil scripture that the Fan Clan does not impart to outsiders. He is incredibly strong, and his body is comparable to secret treasure weapons. Dongbush Shuang sighed inwardly. According to the intelligence he understood, the fleshy body of Fan Tianchong was even stronger than the 10th level grand perfection of the Southern Cloud's sacred body. It's a pity that the Fan Clan did not impart the Tearing Sky strength devil scripture to outsiders. He is incredibly strong, and according to rumors, he is the beloved disciple of the Fan Clan's sky-rending great paragon. That was why he was sent to manage the more important Southern Cloud Nation. Dongbush Shuang thought. Haha! The palace hall was filled with laughter. Those who participated in the banquet were chatting. That is also because that old monster Bai from the Snow Hook Nation is foolish. He relied on the fact that he is a cosmos god and looked down on a primal chaos expert like me. He actually fought with me head-on, which was why I could smash him to heavily injure him. Fan Tianchong chuckled. It's a pity that he ran fast. Otherwise, I'd smash him to death. He is foolish. Isn't he just seeking his own humiliation for daring to fight with Big Brother Tianchong? So what if he is a cosmos god? Isn't he still forced to escape in a sorry state by Big Brother Tianchong? Those madmen from the Snow Hook Nation are also seeking death. They always come and spoil our plans. Several cultivators present were flattering Fan Tianchong. Fan Tianchong sneered. Snow Hook Nation? Of the Black Devil 4 nations, the Snow Hook Nation overestimates its strength the most. It has been going against my Summer Wind Ancient Nation and my Fan Clan time and time again. Who knows if I might teach them a lesson in the future. Woo! Fan Tianchong suddenly revealed a grin. An enormous cauldron was brought up. Within the cauldron, there was a mutated beast that was about to be cooked. There was a chef currently cutting the meat and serving it with some other condiments and wine. Hurry up and have a taste. Prince Snow Eagle, this is your first time coming to my place. This flying lip beast is my favorite food, but it's a pity that it is too hard to catch. Fan Tianchong chuckled. Most of the flying lip beasts discovered by the Black Devil 4 nations should have landed in my place. But it's a rare opportunity for me to have such a good meal. Saying that, Fan Tianchong waved his hand. The first plate of flying lip beast meat that was cut flew over to Dongbush Shuang. Even though there were quite a few guests today, this banquet was indeed prepared for Dongbush Shuang. Because this was the first time Dongbush Shuang came here, even though Fan Tianchong's status was high, he still befriended everyone with potential. In his opinion, with Dongbush Shuang's potential, it should not be a problem for him to reach the 9th level in the future. As for the 10th level? That was hard to say. In terms of cultivation difficulty, it was comparable to creating a 9th level technique in the Primal Chaos Void. More importantly, it had to be complemented with some secret techniques and specialized secret treasures. Only then could one unleash the strength of the 10th level. Many thanks, Big Brother Tianchong. Dongbush Shuang received the plate. The banquet continued. There were musicians playing by the side. The group of people were chatting with each other. Fan Tianchong would occasionally speak with Dongbush Shuang. Prince Snow Eagle, I've heard that you have gotten through the God Yuan Palace 6th level strength. I am also at the God Yuan Palace 6th level strength. Why don't we have a spar? A young protector standing by the side of a guest shouted. Impudent! Is this a place where you can speak so loudly? Another guest who was sitting there tasting the flying lip beast meat shouted back with a sunken expression. Fan Tianchong laughed out loud. Brother Pangbo, today is a happy day. It is good for us to have a spar. It is just that I wonder if Prince Snow Eagle is interested in this? Dongbu Shuang sat there listening and understood. This challenge was most likely arranged by Fan Tianchong. Fan Tianchong probably wanted to use this opportunity to see his actual strength. Since he dares to challenge me here, it seems like he has something to rely on. However, this will make it more interesting. Dongbu Shuang stood up and said with a smile. Magic servant Zibai, who was by the side, transmitted his voice. Prince, I see that he should be proficient in saber arts. Saber arts should be brutal and ruthless. Prince, you must be careful. Dongbu Shuang smiled. His judgment was much higher than magic servant Zibai's. With a step, he arrived at the center of the hall. Great! Fan Tianchong and the others cheered as they watched from the side. Prince Snow Eagle, you must be careful. That young protector was also filled with battle intent. He walked to the center of the hall and faced Dongbu Shuang from afar. Make your move, Dongbu Shuang said. You aren't going to use your weapon? The young protector asked. Not for now. If you can force me to use my weapon, I will naturally use it, Dongbu Shuang said. All right. The eyes of the young protector shrunk. He was actually an honorary disciple under the Fan clan's honored guest, Uncle Pang. Because his strength was suitable, Uncle Pang chose him to challenge this Snow Eagle. This was a rare opportunity for him to display his strength in front of the higher echelons of the Fan clan's southern cloud branch. Receive my move, the young protector shouted. Shio. With a flash, he turned into a blood-colored afterimage that shot towards Dongbu Shuang. Within that blood-colored afterimage, a blood-colored saber light could be vaguely seen. Brother Uncle Pang, this brat has trained your blood shadow saber quite well. It has some flavor. The guests present were chatting and praising. Peng. Dongbu Shuang, who was standing at his original position, stretched out his finger and tapped out lightly. The saber light instantly froze. Dongbu Shuang's finger just so happened to tap on the sharpest point of the saber light. It was also the strongest point, and also the point where all of its power was concentrated. Hong! A booming sound rang out. The saber light trembled from the impact, and that young protector involuntarily staggered backwards from the impact. How is this possible? How is it possible for him to tap on the strongest point under my shadow saber technique? The young protector felt astonished in his heart. Impossible. It must be a coincidence. The shadow saber was originally known for its unpredictability. Being at the God Yuan Palace 6th level, he absolutely did not believe that an opponent of equal strength could easily see through his saber technique. Who? The young protector turned into an afterimage once again. This time, his figure moved in an even more bizarre manner. The saber light whistled out continuously like a tidal wave. Countless saber shadows shot out continuously and were ever-changing. Dongbu Shuang remained at his original position. When the saber light enveloped him, he still tapped out with his finger.